My idiot cousin ruined my credit score after he signed me up for a lease that I never agreed to. Because once I found out that he had literally committed fraud in my name, I found myself scrambling to get this off of my record, all while my cousin tries to act like I'm overreacting and just trying to make him look bad to the entire family. Here's what happened. Okay, this happened last year and I'm still cleaning up the mess. So my cousin, a 30-year-old male, was moving into a new apartment and apparently his credit score wasn't great. He then calls me one night, super casual, and he says to me, "Hey, can you just co-sign my lease real quick? It's no big deal. They just need someone with a clean record." When he said this, I told him politely no. I was 25 at the time, just started rebuilding my own credit after paying off student loans, and I didn't want to risk it. When I said this, he acted like he understood and we hung up, and I honestly thought that was the end of it. But then 2 months later, I get a letter from a collection agency saying that I owe $600 for damages on an apartment I've never even seen. And as you can probably guess, it turns out my cousin put my name down anyways. He literally forged my info on the lease because according to him, look, it's just easier if you don't make a big deal out of it. When I confronted him, he said, and I swear, this is word for word, "Look, you have a good credit. I don't. You're supposed to help me. It's not like you're paying for it." And he said this as if he was entitled to it. I ended up having to dispute it, file a fraud report, and then freeze my credit. The whole process took months and multiple phone calls. Meanwhile, he keeps telling everyone that I was overreacting and trying to make him look bad. I mean, the entitlement is unreal. Like, how do you screw up your own finances and then decide it's someone else's responsibility to save you? And now my credit score is damaged because of that stunt. But family or not, some people just don't understand any kind of boundaries. Holy crap, this is a nightmare. I can only imagine what this must have been like. Like, holy crap. Like, what he did is not only incredibly unethical and just so dishonest, but it's also, I'm pretty sure, like, very illegal. Like, I can't just go around, get someone's information to be like, okay, we're co-signing on an apartment. Let's get ready to do this. Like, no, dude, don't put me on the lease. That's insane. Especially for someone that you probably know for a fact is as irresponsible as your cousin. So yeah, this whole situation sucks, but if I was in your shoes, I would be shouting this entire situation from the rooftop so that everybody in my family and then some can see the actual truth of what happened. Like, if this guy really wants to twist this to make him look like the victim here, then fine, I'll go ahead and drop some receipts and be like, oh, this is what you put me through. These are the links that I had to go through just to get this taken care of, and yeah, my credit score is now screwed over because of you. Because if this guy wants to mess around, then he can absolutely find out as well. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for telling my college roommate that she can't have her mom stay the night in our shared college space? Because right now I'm being treated like garbage and I just don't know what to do about this. Here's what's going on. Okay, so as the title suggests, my roommate wants her mother over at our place so that she can sleep in our shared room. For some context, we are both sophomores in college. We've never had any issues before except for like minor miscommunications, and I'm honestly baffled at this scenario. She woke me up this morning and told me that her mother was going to come around in half an hour and help her clean up and take her out. Now, I have no issues with her mother, as at this point I've known her for like 3 years, but I've never spoken to her for more than like a few seconds when she comes to visit, and it's always just common pleasantries and then we part ways. In total, we've probably spent less than like half an hour in the same room. Anyways, once they got back from their outing, I was in our room doing homework, and she asked me if it was okay if her mom slept in her bed with her tonight. When she said this, I was extremely confused. I mean, she has never asked this before, and while I like her mother, I also don't really want to sleep in the same room with her. So I asked her if she was asking if I would leave for the night so that she could have some kind of girls' night with her mom, to which she refused and said that she just wanted to know if her mom could stay over here tonight. I pressed her again and I asked if she meant her mom would sleep here and she would sleep somewhere else, or they would sleep in the bed together, and she said they would most likely just sleep together. Well, I told her this made me extremely uncomfortable, and I don't really know her mom well enough to want to sleep in the same room with her, to which she replied by saying, well, we didn't know each other before we roomed together, and we still sleep in the same room. But am I wrong in thinking that's a completely separate and unavoidable thing? Her mom absolutely does not have to sleep with us. Now, both her and her mom refuse to speak to me and are being extremely standoffish with me. Her mother even texted my mom and said that I was being extremely rude and that she would have a talk with me about being more polite and courteous with guests. I'm just so confused and weirded out, and at this point, I don't know if I'm the jerk. Okay, honestly, I think the part that kind of like pisses me off the most is the way the mom and this like roommate are acting. Like, holy crap, you texted my mom over this? Are you crazy? And then she wants to be like, oh, I'm gonna have a talk with her. Because it's like, okay, bet, let's have that talk. Let's talk about how you're too cheap to get a hotel and like stay out of my space. Listen, if the roommate had like a separate room and they're going to stay there, then like, cool, go for it. Do whatever you want. But I'm imagining this small dorm room where it's like, okay, there's like no space as it is. And now you're telling me your mom's gonna be sleeping over at the same time as me? Like, I'm absolutely with the original poster here. That's weird and just a little bit uncomfortable. So no, this is absolutely out of line, and I definitely don't think you're the jerk. Am I overreacting by asking my mother-in-law to move out, all because she's become too involved in raising our daughter? Here's what's going on because things are about to get really weird. Okay, so my wife and I have a 3-year-old daughter, and for the past year, my mother-in-law has been living with us after she had some financial issues. Now, as you can probably guess, it was supposed to be temporary, a few months tops at most, but it's dragged on way longer than either of us expected. At first, it was nice having the extra help with childcare, but over time, she started taking over completely. She steps in every single time our daughter cries, interrupts us when we're disciplining her, and often refers to our daughter as my baby. It's gotten to the point where our daughter now goes to her first when she wants something and not to us. My wife has told her mom multiple times to tone it down, but she just laughs it off or says something like, "You'll thank me later when she turns out to be perfect." But last week was the final straw. I found my mother-in-law giving our daughter a haircut in the kitchen without even asking us first. When I confronted her about it, she said to us, "It was getting in her eyes, you're welcome." Well, my wife was furious about this. She said she feels like her own mom has taken over and that she's uncomfortable in her own home. Well, we talked about it and agreed that we need to ask her to move out and find her own place, but now my mother-in-law is guilt-tripping us, saying that we're kicking her out and that she's done everything for us and that we're ripping her granddaughter away from her. I feel really bad, but this situation is destroying the balance in our home. So seriously, am I overreacting by kicking her out? Because at this point, we're just incredibly frustrated. No way, dude, you're making the absolute best decision here. This is not you overreacting. This is you getting someone out of your house that is damaging your daughter. And yes, in my opinion, that's what's happening. Your daughter's 3 years old and this lady's like hijacking you guys being parents, meaning that she's not young enough to understand that, yeah, this is not normal. Grandma is not and should not be the first person that she goes to anytime she needs something. And I think you guys have clocked this correctly. If I found out my mother-in-law was standing in the kitchen cutting my kid's hair, all without asking me first, I would lose my mind. That's not okay. You can't do that. You're not the parent. I am. So no, her guilt tripping and manipulation is stupid, and I just would not listen to that for a second. And if anything, I would give her 30 days and be like, okay, you gotta go and figure it out, because otherwise this is only gonna cause you a lot of heartache and a lot of problems. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my dad bring his new wife to my graduation after she recently said some nasty things about my mom online? Here's what's going on. I'm a 22-year-old female and I'm graduating college next year, and my dad has been asking for months about tickets. Now, each graduate gets 4 in total, but I told him from the start I was saving 2 for him and my stepmom, 1 for my mom, and then 1 for my younger brother. Everything was fine until about a month ago when my dad's wife posted on Facebook a photo of them at dinner with a caption that said the following: "Some people can't handle seeing their exes move on. Stay mad, jealous types." It doesn't take a genius to figure out that she was talking about my mom. I mean, they've had tension ever since the divorce, and my mom was actually the one who helped my dad through rehab years ago. My mom showed me the post even though she didn't respond to it, and I told my dad it was disrespectful and that I didn't want his wife at my graduation if she was going to be taking digs like that. He then said I'm overreacting to a post and that it's not a big deal. I then told him that he can still come, but she is not welcome this time. And when I said this, he flipped out, saying that I'm punishing him for loving someone who isn't my mother. And now I'm getting guilty text messages from his wife too, saying that I'm making family division even worse and that I'm embarrassing my dad. So am I the jerk here? Because this whole situation is a giant mess. Okay, honestly, I don't blame the original poster. This is really toxic and I would not want this anywhere near my graduation at all, especially since it literally seems like she's doing this just to antagonize your mom right before a big event. And that's like classic narcissist behavior. Like, it really seems like she wants to ruffle some feathers right before she sees her in person. Like, there's no reason to make that comment at all. Just move on and be happy. Don't drag the other person down. And from the sounds of it, the mom in this story is not the bad person. Clearly the ex is, and clearly the dad is like absolutely toxic for encouraging this. Like, he's trying to flip this on the daughter by being like, "Oh, you're punishing me for loving someone who isn't your mom." But what he's really doing is saying, "Hey, stop holding me accountable for what my new wife says." Like, this guy is so stupid. He's turning this into something about himself when in reality, he's almost encouraging his ex-wife to make these kind of comments. Like, that's so toxic. So no, you're not the jerk, and I seriously just don't blame you for a second. Today, I got some much needed revenge against my ex-wife as I not only canceled her internet, but also got her phone number canceled as well, putting her in a position that honestly she definitely deserves because she has caused me so many problems. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I'm a divorced dad. Together, we've got 2 very good kids, and we've mostly been amicable, but mostly because I've paid for literally everything. Part of the reason for the separation was her not working enough while complaining constantly about our situation. I went from selling illegal substances as my main source of income to becoming an independent plumber, and I did this so we could stay in this expensive city, Los Angeles. Well, 2 years ago, we finally separated and I moved out, and when I did that, I stopped paying her rent, and I even told her that I'm going to be separating the phones very soon. Well, 6 months later, and she still hasn't found a new carrier. So I went ahead and canceled her number, and that time I was nice enough to 3-way call her so that she could at least port her number to a new carrier. What I had forgotten though was that I was still paying the home internet, which is a service that I also use for my new place as well. In fact, a year ago, I remember that I told her that she needs a new internet provider too, and that soon I'm going to be cutting that off as well. And as you can probably imagine based off the pattern, there was a lot more gaslighting. Now, I put this off for a while, but yesterday, I got an email thanking me for my payment twice. But you know what? I'm so broke right now that I was highly motivated and I just got to work. When I picked up the kids later that day, I also grabbed the router. And today, I took it into the store to cancel, only to then find out that she put her phone number on my Spectrum account. Well, they gladly helped me terminate the mobile service, telling me that she needed a new number entirely. And on top of that, they canceled the internet, saving me about $100 a month and the satisfaction of knowing that my ex is having to get a new number because she was too shady and lazy to do the right thing. Throughout our entire relationship, she took advantage of me being nice and considerate or too lazy to be vindictive. But not today, because I was getting the revenge that I absolutely should have gotten a long time ago. Dude, I love this so much. Like, first of all, it sounds like your ex is an absolute nightmare because the way she gaslights you is so disgusting. Like, dude, what is going on right now? Like, she's going out of her way to make it seem like this is your fault, when in reality, she's just some deadbeat who refused to work, putting everything on your shoulders instead of stepping up and doing something yourself. So good for you for, like, giving your ex a lot of problems to deal with, because from the sounds of it, she definitely deserves it. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay for a new door after a car literally made an illegal U-turn into the bike lane, which then caused me to hit his car head on? Because right now he's saying he's gonna sue me, and at this point I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, to start things out and give a bit of context, I live in Montreal, which has been transformed in the past few years to have a lot of cycling infrastructure. I was cycling in a bike lane and the lane was upgraded to have some small concrete barriers between it and the car lane, but unfortunately this barrier isn't all along and only near each intersection. Sadly, cars still park in the unprotected areas, especially delivery drivers like DoorDash. Well, a DoorDash driver parked in the opposite side bike lane suddenly drove into my lane at 90 degrees to do an illegal U-turn. And by the way, there's a solid line, so you cannot even pass in the oncoming lane. Well, obviously I didn't have time to completely stop and I hit the door of the car head on. I was fine and so was my bike, but my helmet got dented from hitting the car window. This idiot then got out and started shouting at me and telling me that I'm a jerk and I should have just stopped and waited for him to turn, and that according to him, I did it on purpose and he saw me. Now the car door had a massive dent from the impact. He then said this is going to cost him a lot of money and told me that I would have to pay for a new door. At this point, he was still blocking the road and some other drivers started honking, so he moved the car to park in the bike lane. I then asked for his insurance information while also saying that he's the one who owes me a helmet, but even though I asked for it, he still declined to give me anything. I then just started to cut my losses and cycle away, but he got in his car and followed me. We then stopped elsewhere and I gave him my phone number and I took his, but now he's calling me and sending me really sketchy messages about suing me if I somehow don't pay him for a new door. So am I the jerk for refusing this? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, this guy has trouble written all over him. The driver's 100% at fault, and he knows that because he's trying to justify this and be like, oh, you did this on purpose. You ran into my car on purpose because you knew I was going to get in trouble. And it's like, yeah, the only reason he would be saying that is because he knows he's guilty. And now he's just trying to be like, oh, I'm going to sue you. You better pay me for my new door or else. And it's like, sorry, man, that's just not going to happen. So in my opinion, I would probably go to the police or like maybe even lawyer up. Like, this sounds really sketchy, and hopefully they can help take care of this, because if it really is like the way that you described it, then in my opinion, it sounds like this guy's super guilty and he absolutely is the one at fault. My entitled mom freaks out on me and my son after I begged her to please babysit my sick son at my house instead of at hers, because now my mom has freaked out and cut me off from my entire side of the family, putting me in a situation where truly I don't know what to do. Here's what's going on. Okay, so my son was sick yesterday, and my mom offered to babysit for me since I really couldn't miss work. For a bit of context, I'm a single mom because my husband passed away in an accident last year. We had 2 kids together, ages 12 and 8, and my 8-year-old has severe ADHD and autism. Being a newly single mom, money has been really tight, and I do get state assistance, but not a lot, and my husband didn't really have any life insurance, so there was no money left to us from him. My mom and my sister help me with my babysitting if the kids are sick, or if there's like no school because I just can't afford a sitter. The issues really came in when I told her that I didn't have food to spare right now because I have not been able to go shopping yet. I then told her to please bring her own food, or at least be prepped to have to buy her own food, because the food I do have in the house is strictly for the kids until I can get to the store this weekend. She then said it would just be easier to take my son to her house then, which I was okay with, but my 8-year-old really hates going to her house. But when she comes to get him, he has a meltdown because he doesn't want to go to her house. I asked her if she can just stay and I can find a way to get more food before the weekend, but she said no and insisted that he had to come with her. And honestly, that just made the entire situation way worse. Now, my mom has not had great patience, but her and my sister are the only sitters I have right now because they don't charge me much, and the only thing they ask for is maybe gas. Well, when I said this, she lost it and started yelling at me and him that she didn't have time for this and that she had plans that day that she had canceled just so she could watch him, which by the way is something she did not mention to me at all beforehand when I asked her. She also said, and I quote, "I wish we could trade lives and I could lay around and throw tantrums all day and you can go to work and just have everyone use you and take your money all the time. How much it must suck to be you and do whatever you want while I have to do nothing but take care of other people." Now, I never borrow money from my mother, but my sister and grandma live with her and they don't work, so I know she is under a lot of stress and she takes it out on me a lot. She does this by calling me a burden or letting me know how much my tragic loss has affected her negatively. She'll also call me other names or yell at me for things that my sister or grandma do. Nonetheless, whenever she said this, I didn't yell or argue. I simply covered his ears and I looked at her and I said, "Mom, he's 8 years old." And when I said this, she lost it. She screamed, "Screw you then. Miss work and lose money. I don't care. I am leaving." And then she got up and she left. She now says that she will not babysit for me ever again, just so I can no struggle, which if she really follows through with that, that means I'm gonna have to miss a bunch of work or find a sitter that I can trust that won't break my bank. So I'm honestly wondering, should I have just cut her a break knowing that she is under so much pressure? And I understand she's frustrated and needs to get it off her chest, but I feel like a verbal punching bag and I don't want my kids to deal with that as well. So am I the jerk because I just don't know what to do? Okay, before we go any further, the original poster has an update to this story and there's a lot that happened. Here's what's going on. Okay, to start things out, my mom is banned from my place of work and I will no longer be speaking to her or my grandma, while also limiting contact with my sister. In fact, I was sent home early due to my emotional state at work. Basically, they showed up before my lunch break and they demanded to talk to me. Well, when my boss said no, my mom lost it and started screaming at her so loudly I could hear them down the hall from my classroom. She then sent another staff member to get me to try and defuse the situation, but my mom only started screaming at me that I wasted her time and her gas because she was going to have to wait around all day for me. And she did this while also calling me all sorts of names and cussing with every other word. I then asked her if we could go outside to talk, and she said that she no longer wants to talk to me and that she only came here because my sister asked her to. Now, one of my coworkers is going to be retiring a week before Thanksgiving, and she told me that she will watch my kids during school breaks after she retires for the same price I paid my mom, which is right after everyone got to see what my mother was like in person. She said she doesn't feel right having me keep her as a sitter after her behavior today, and she understands how hard being a widow truly is. And apparently, this coworker lost her husband when her kids were like 10 and 14, but I had no idea about this until today since she never really shared much info about her personal life. We then ended up having a talk with the police on my mother because she was refusing to leave, and they actually came and escorted her off the property. After they left, my sister called me to tell me that my mom had blocked me on literally everything and actually told her that she no longer has 2 daughters and just 1, and that my sister is forbidden from coming to see me or watching the kids while she lives with our mother. But luckily, she will be moving in with her fiance after he gets back from deployment. And also, just in case anyone was wondering, my coworkers knew that childcare was a struggle for me, but they didn't really have any advice to help me out with childcare because most of them don't have kids. And in fact, a lot of their kids are already grown up. But the lady who offered to help is one of my favorite coworkers, and she has even come over to help me make decorations for our classroom at work, So she knows my kids, and they really seemed to like her anytime she came over, which is in a way giving me hope that things might work out for the better. Oh my gosh, so many things happened here. This is crazy. First of all, I want to say that your coworker in this story is an absolutely amazing person. They stepped up right when this crap was going down and was like, okay, I'll help you out. I'm retiring soon. I can absolutely come in clutch and make sure that your kids are taken care of. And that is amazing. Like, that is like the most charitable and kindest thing she can do in this situation, because the mom of this story is an absolute narcissist. Think about it. She's trying to be like, oh, I'm not going to show up because I want you to know what it's like to struggle. Your husband's death, by the way, is affecting me negatively. And it's like, hey, stupid, what about your daughter? I'm willing to bet she's probably going through a harder time. Like, what are you talking about? This is just such an inconvenient time for him to die. I mean, come on. Like, holy crap, what an idiot. And the fact that she was yelling at an 8-year-old kid who's like clearly not okay with being around her, like, dude, I'm right there with your kid. He probably clocked that immediately and was like, no, I don't want to go to that crazy lady's house. You don't know what she's like when you're not around. Like, holy crap. So yeah, this entire situation is so crazy. Your mom is insane. And the fact that she wants to punish you all because you're like, hey, can you please just like stay at my house? Which, by the way, that's where all of this started. Like, that is absolutely uncalled for, and there is no good excuse for that. And hopefully you and your family can find some peace being away from her, because if anything, this is like a blessing in disguise. An entitled Karen tries to steal my dog away from me, claiming that I had stolen this dog and that she demanded it back, and I've never been more angry in my life. Here's what happened. So to start off with some backstory, at the time of this story, I was 19 years old, and my younger brother was 6. I would take our dog Sophia out with me and pick him up from school. Then we'd go to the restaurant next to where my father worked as a pharmacist. When my father was done at work, about an hour after we got there, we'd all carpool home together. My little brother would take his food to the little arcade machine that they had in the back and blow his allowance on it, and I'd go outside to eat with Sophia while reading on my tablet. It was a nice little mom and pop ice cream parlor and restaurant that's been around since the early 1930s, and it's across the street from a rather well-known local tourist attraction. We knew the owners and they liked her, often spoiling her with food that was either turned away or it was just stuff that they couldn't sell that day. The owner's wife would often spoil Sophia with ice cream or a piece of saltwater taffy. Now, on the day that everything went down, my little brother only had half a day that day, so we had gotten there right as the lunch crowd was leaving. I leashed Sophia to an outdoor table at the restaurant while my little brother and I went inside to order, as per our usual routine. The owners had no problem with it, as we were on good terms at the time and still are. Now, Sophia wasn't aggressive, and I was on first name basis with most of the staff, who absolutely adored her. Most of them were either still in high school or just graduated and were picking up a first-time job. I go to place our order, including something for Sophia to eat, and halfway through the order, the server points behind me and says in a panicked voice, "Someone is trying to grab Sophia." I dropped what I was doing. I turned around and I saw this heavy-set lady trying to corral Sophia around the table with one hand on her leash and the other hand trying to grab her collar. And this lady is the entitled Karen of this story. I had people ask me if she was for sale before, but nobody had ever tried to just take her away before this. I rushed towards the door and I threw it open so hard it nearly cracked the glass pane. Meanwhile, the cashier was calling the owner out of the back of the kitchen. After I got out the door, I demanded in an angry voice, "What on earth are you doing messing with my dog?" The entitled Karen responded in a sweet voice saying, "I was going to take her home," like she wasn't just trying to steal someone else's beloved pet. And at this point, I absolutely lost my mind. I screamed at this entitled Karen and I said, "You get your hands away from my dog, or there's going to be police involved, and it won't be for you." I was and still am a big guy. I'm 6'1" and about 280 pounds. She jerked her hand away like she'd been stung, but decided to try and start ranting at me about how I obviously don't care for my animal if I'm leaving it outside tied up in the sun. She then claimed that I don't deserve such a sweet little thing. I mean, the nerve of this lady. She'd been caught red-handed, and she was still trying to get my dog. At this point, I had it. I looked at this entitled Karen and I was trying and failing to keep calm. I've had anger management issues since I was small, so this wasn't an easy task. I say to her, "My dog is in a shady area," and I set a bowl of water down for her, which she hasn't even touched yet. I'd been in this restaurant for about a minute before you decided to try and abduct her, and we eat outside this establishment all the time. At this point, I was ready to explode, but I kept as calm as I could as I grabbed Sophia's leash and unclipped it from the table. She immediately hid behind me and tried tried to back off. But this entitled Karen wasn't done yet. She said to me, "You don't deserve such a beautiful dog. I want her for my kids to play with." And she said this in such a demanding tone. And when she said this, I sensed an opening to de-escalate the situation. I said to her, "That is a terrible idea because this breed is notorious for being bad with kids." This is true with the breed, but not with Sophia. While she is a blue heeler, she is lovely with kids. And she's mixed with Australian Shepherd, which are generally great with kids in my experience. But of course, this lady didn't need to know that. She said to me, "What are you talking about? She's been so friendly every time you're down here." And when she said this raised every alarm bell and red flag in my head at the same time. She had been watching me and Sophia for at least a week or two to know how often I was down here, as well as to know our routine. She might have even planned this out in advance. I said to her, "This is a cattle dog. They're bred to work with half-wild cattle and are known as healers for how they bite at heels of people and animals. They are not like Lassie. And it doesn't matter anyways. This is my dog, and you're not getting her. Now leave us alone before the police get here. The staff have already called them." Now mind you, this was a bluff, as I had no idea what the staff was doing at this moment. But it did make her stop for a minute, and that was long enough for me to get back to the door and open it before asking the owner, who had come out the back, "Hey, do you mind if I wait in here with Sophia for a bit? Someone just tried to take her while she was out front." The owner took one look at me and at Sophia trying to hide from the lady and replied to me by saying, "Head into the back and I'll let you know when it's safe." I took Sophia and I headed back into the area next to the arcade machine, where she cuddled up to my little brother, who she's always been attached to. Meanwhile, I heard the owner starting to tell the lady off. She even tried to claim I stole her dog. This entitled Karen looked at the owner and said, "He just took my dog." But the owner knew better. He looked at her and said, "Nice try, but he's a regular customer, and he's had that dog for 2 years now. I've known her since she was a puppy." But the entitled Karen didn't stop there, as she said she's not leaving until she gets that dog. The owner then said, "No, you're leaving right now. We have you on camera trying to take his dog." The entitled Karen then said, "This isn't over. I want to speak to the owner." And the owner, with a smile on his face, said, "Yes, it is. I am the owner. And you're banned from both of my stores." "You can't do that. You have no authority." The owner responded by saying, "Yes, I can. I'm head of the local council, and I'm making sure they all see what you did. If you leave now, you should get away before his father gets here. I've already called him, and he's not a nice man when his family is threatened." And this is true. My dad has a true Papa Bear energy when it comes to his kids, and he is definitely not someone to be messed with. This was what finally broke her, but she wasn't going to leave before getting in one last blustering word. She said, "Fine, I'll leave, but this isn't the end of this." And after she said that, she stormed out. It turned out that was the end of it. The lady got kicked out of all the local owned stores and had to do all of her shopping at a chain store in the next town over. She later moved out of the area when people found out what type of person she was and stopped being nice to her. Nowadays, the ice cream shop has been sold to new owners. The old owners retired a few years later and are living a comfortable life. I still talk with him online every now and then, and I gave the wife my reading tablet so she could enjoy her books more often as a retirement present. My dog Sophia still likes kids and the sweet things in life, and we've had to cut back on how much she gets since she is getting older and having trouble getting around. But I'm honestly just glad that I protected my dog from that crazy Karen. I can't believe that someone would seriously have the nerve to try and take somebody's dog. That is honestly crazy to me. Like, to me, I've always considered pets part of the family. Like, that's a family member you're trying to steal away from me. And I think I would lose it, just like the original poster, if anyone tried to endanger my family. So good for the original poster as well as the owner for coming to their defense. You protected Sophia, and you made sure this weird, crazy Karen didn't get her stupid, ugly hands on your dog. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. This next one came from the Am I the Jerk podcast subreddit. Check the links in the description if you'd like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for leaving my boyfriend for not quitting his bad habits, as well as for losing our pet snake? Here's what happened. So I'm a 20-year-old female, and I'd been with my boyfriend who's 25 years old for a little over a year, and it was a roller coaster. Let's call him John. That's not his real name. He was never awful and was an amazing guy, but he just didn't have the maturity to change and be responsible. Here's the story. So for context, my boyfriend and I got together last year when we met at community college that we both attended in the school's gaming club. He was nice, sweet, charismatic, and really smart. I was in love. He was a student worker, so I got to see him a lot when we were done with class. class. I loved everything about him. However, I noticed that he chewed tobacco. For context, I hate chewing tobacco because my dad does it. The bottles he spits are just nasty. It's an awful, gross thing, and it's just overall horrible. Now, here's where I know I messed up. I told him that if he wants a relationship with me, he had to quit, and he told me that he would, even throwing the dip he had in the garbage just to show it. He even switched to alternative chew with no nicotine in it. I was proud of him and believed him at the time, but in hindsight, I should have known that kicking this habit cold turkey was not going to be easy. Throughout our entire relationship, he kept dipping with the nicotine packs. A couple months after that, I found a pack in his backpack when I was putting some of his things away in it. When he worked with me, I saw a pack in his pocket. When he visited my family, he ran out of dip and left my grandma's house to get more. Now, she lives in a sketchy neighborhood, so I was worried, and he wouldn't answer my text messages. He even made my grandma worry sick, and she went outside to wait for him, and I went out with her. I was terrified, but thankful that he came back. A couple of months ago, John got an apartment, and one day, John's bedroom was pretty messy, so while he was at work, I decided to clean his bedroom, as well as his bed, just to surprise him, so he could finally sleep on his bed. And as I was cleaning, I found some of the packs in a pair of socks, and some in his closet paired up with some hidden vodka bottles. The alcohol was another problem that I had, but the nicotine was what I cared about more. I confronted him about it, and he said, "I don't know where that came from." And I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but thinking back, I should have known that that answer was BS. I've also had problems with his excessive drinking that I didn't notice until he got his apartment, and there were beer bottles and vodka bottles everywhere. Also, my boyfriend tried certain types of gummies, if you know what I mean, and one night when we were heading out to a restaurant, he didn't tell me that he ate a gummy, and needless to say, he wasn't all there. I talked to him a lot about these issues, encouraging him to talk to someone, and he talked to a psychiatrist, and she recommended a therapist for this type of problem. I was super proud of him. I loved him with every fiber of my being and just wanted the best for him, and he knew it was a bad habit, but he didn't know how to stop. I tried to approach it kindly. I tried to be more firm. I tried to say anything to get him to understand how these bad habits would affect me and our potential kids, but you know what? Nothing worked. I wanted to marry this guy so bad, and he wanted that too. However, it felt like everything I said fell on deaf ears. Fast forward to this month, and John and I got a pet snake because we thought it would be fun to have a cute pet around to take care of together. We loved her a lot, and we were so happy being snake parents together. However, a couple of days ago, John and I were playing a board game together for a few hours, and when I had to head home, John asked if I wanted to see our snake, and I said, "Sure, go ahead." He lifted the lid of our snake's enclosure, but we noticed that she was sleeping, so I told him it was fine. I'll see her when she wakes up tomorrow. The next day, I come over because we didn't have work. I asked if John saw our snake at all that day, and he said no. Then I noticed he never put the lid back on the enclosure. We looked to see if she was in the enclosure, and she wasn't. And right about then, we panicked. We searched all over his apartment, behind the fridge, the stove, in the bathroom, in his bedroom, every single corner of the house, anywhere that was warm, even inside the walls. But we couldn't find her anywhere. John tried using a fan and a pink mouse to kind of blow the scent so our snake would come out and find it while we waited. But John went to grab his clothes to do laundry and to see if she was in any of his clothes. She wasn't in his clothes, and we went back to his apartment, and she didn't turn up after more searching, and we were honestly devastated. When this happened, it was the last and final straw. John started sobbing and feeling sorry for himself for losing our pet snake, and started saying these awful things that indicated that he was not doing well mentally, if you know what I mean. He started to say that I didn't deserve to have to deal with someone like him. He kept crying and screaming about the pet snake. It was really hard hearing him cry, and so I started crying too, but I felt numb. I didn't want to comfort him. I didn't want to tell him that it was going to be okay. I felt so numb. Every irresponsible thing that we've done came flying back into me, and this was something unforgivable. He allowed a living creature to potentially get hurt because he couldn't take 2 seconds to put the lid back on our baby's enclosure. While he was still crying, I got up to search in John's closet, looking in any corners I could think of that she could possibly hide in. Then I picked up a bag and heard some rattling. I looked in the bag, and it was full of empty nicotine tobacco packs, and I was officially done. A whole year of lying to me, risking my life, and now risking the life of our snake. I went into the living room and I poured out all the empty packs of nicotine. I grabbed my bag and my keys, and I left, and I also slammed the door hard on the way out. When I was walking out to my car, it felt like I was floating. I kept thinking, is this really happening? Is it really over? It honestly felt surreal. I didn't want to believe our relationship was over. We had so many things planned, so many things I wanted to do with him, and it all washed away in an instant. I cried in my car for a bit and thought I heard a pop sound. Assuming the worst, I ran back to his apartment and I opened the door, and thankfully he was sitting on his couch just upset. I thought something else had happened, if you know what I mean. I walked over to him and he said sadly, "Did you forget something?" And I said no. He started sobbing again, saying the same things prior. I told him that I came back because I wanted him to be safe and I didn't want anything bad to happen to him, and I thought that he had done something that would have been irreversible, if you know what I mean. To which he responded by saying that he would never do that. I told him I care about him and that he better promise to never do anything like that to himself. And after he promised me that he wouldn't, we cried a little while after that. Then I told him to not forget about his laundry, and he asked me if I wanted to come along, and I said sure. I didn't know what else to do. He put his laundry to dry, and I sat outside waiting for him. When he came out, we had a long talk. I told him that I loved and I cared about him so much as a person, but I could not love someone that doesn't deal with his bad habits and doesn't do anything to try and change it, and that we both have a lot of growing up to do. He understood that and we held each other. He asked if we could still see each other, and I said of course. I genuinely still love him and I want him to be a part of my life because we've gone through so many wonderful things together, and he is a good person at heart. I just couldn't be with someone with these bad habits as well as with someone who lacked this much responsibility. He said he will always love me even if I find someone else because he's never been loved by anyone like I loved him. He just wishes that nicotine and alcohol was never invented so he could be the man that I deserve. He told me I was always welcome at his place if I ever needed anything or just wanted to hang out. He also said if I moved away that we can always stay in touch. Honestly, I wanted that. I care so deeply about him and I want him to love himself and be happy with his life and succeed. I tried so hard to compromise all the things that he's dealing with, but being with him made me realize I just can't be with someone who won't help themselves first. It made me realize that I was selfish for asking someone to change for me, and people should want to change for themselves, and that we are just different in that way. After talking, he walked me to my car and said he's gonna stay up all night to try and find our snake, and even requested a couple of days off from work to find her. I told him I hope you do find her for her sake, just so she can be safe and have a happy home. He asked if we could have one last kiss, and I just said okay. We kissed, we waved goodbye, and I drove off, and I cried and wailed the entire way home. When I got home, my parents knew something was wrong, and I told them that we broke up, and I started sobbing again. I told my dad that I broke up with him because John kept lying about stopping his habits. My dad said, "Really? Over just that?" But I didn't want to tell the other reasons. My dad did comfort me and said while he doesn't agree with the reason that we broke up, he understands that the lying about quitting was worse than chewing the tobacco, and that he was proud that I knew what I wanted in a relationship instead of just being silent. I cried while eating my dinner and went to bed sobbing. My dad's words made me think that I was being selfish for wanting John to change just for me, and that love should be unconditional and shouldn't be used as a pawn to get someone to change, and they should want it for themselves. Now, I love John so much, and I just want him to be happy and healthy, but it really makes me question, was I the jerk for wanting my boyfriend to kick his bad habits? And when he lost our pet, was using that as the final straw to break up with him a good idea? It feels so hard to start over, especially because we had a plan to visit my family this summer and plans to eventually move in together, but it feels so hard starting over again, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. I don't think you're the jerk in this situation. You tried to help your boyfriend, and you communicated what you do and do not want in a relationship. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Like, this is a serious hard line for you, and you said straight up, listen, I don't want this in a relationship. I don't want you having these really bad habits, and I don't want you to be this irresponsible with our pets. I mean, he let that snake out, and who knows where it is. It could be in the walls, it could be in some place it can't get out of, and it could easily pass away. Like, that's just not fair for anybody, and it's especially not fair for the snake. I mean, come on. So in my opinion, you're not the jerk. I think you made a very responsible decision, and you did what's best for you and your life. My boyfriend gave himself an allergic reaction just to get his boss fired, and this is truly the dumbest thing he has ever done. Here's what happened. So when my boyfriend was 19, he had a job at a smoothie shop. He worked with 3 other people and his boss. We'll call him John, that's not his real name. My boyfriend's one stipulation before getting his job was that he would not work with peanut butter water since he is allergic. He'll break out in hives, and if ingested, his throat will swell up. It's not bad enough for an EpiPen, but it is bad enough to need a Benadryl. At this job, they made protein balls, and it was made with peanut butter. One day during the rush, my boyfriend was at the sink when John threw a big bowl of leftover peanut butter into the sink and told my boyfriend to wash it. My boyfriend argued and told him that he can't touch it and that he would break out if he did. John argued with him and told him to do it. So my boyfriend, being the stubborn idiot that he is, he said, okay, fine. Roughly 5 minutes later, and my boyfriend's hands and arms were covered in hives. And once his arms had visible hives, he took a picture and sent it in the work group chat that the owners were a part of, saying, can someone cover my shift? I'm a tad under the weather, with pictures of his hands. He walked out before anyone responded. Someone covered his shift, and the owners came in with the girl who covered the rest of his shift, just to yell at John. The next day, the girl told my boyfriend about John getting chewed out by the owners, and the owners called my boyfriend and apologized for what happened. Now, for a long story short, basically, we'll just say that John was not a good manager. He was not only stealing money from the registers, but he was also being creepy with some of the women that worked at the store. So John was fired, and my boyfriend also shortly quit right afterwards. Now, for anyone thinking that, yeah, this is a really stupid thing, and allergic reactions only get worse with time, yes, my boyfriend is aware of that. He was a spiteful teenager with no sense of self-preservation and was just feeling incredibly petty. The owners liked him and gave him an espresso machine when he left. So he says, you know what, it was worth it. But he also says that no, he wouldn't and won't ever do that again. I've heard of people not liking their managers, but I've never heard of anybody forcing an allergic reaction just to get their manager fired. First off, I want to say that no, you should never do that. Like, this is a serious allergy and you really should never do this. I don't endorse this. I think the original poster's boyfriend is really dumb for doing this, and this could have ended really badly. But considering the context and the fact that, yeah, he's okay and he's fine, this is unbelievably hilarious to me. I mean, what kind of manager, knowing that your employee is allergic to peanut butter, would then throw a big bowl of it into the sink and be like, you need to wash that right now? Like, are you trying to get them sick? Because that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna get sick and it's gonna be your fault. So good for the original poster's boyfriend for, I don't know, getting back at their boss. You really shouldn't have done that, but it did work out in the end. And hopefully you learn that next time your allergies are not something you should really mess with. An entitled Karen screams at me after I try to ask questions for her custom build computer she's giving to her kid. She even went as far as calling me a scammer, claiming that I was just trying to hack her and that she would sue me if that was the case. And I've never been more confused by a customer in my life. Here's what happened. So I want to start off with a bit of backstory. I have many years under my belt of building custom computers, and I have built a name for myself in my town as a guru. In fact, my friend was the one that started that name years ago. I have always been into anything with technology, and now I freelance apps, security, repairs, graphic design for games, programming games, web design, and development. And my favorite is custom builds per user. I have a few questions I ask people that want a custom build from me, as it helps me decide on the parts and future upgrades down the line. I work from home as I don't own a storefront, and I work solely alone. I also don't make as much as you would expect from custom builds. Also, I'm pretty patient with people, since I'm used to customer service and have taken care of my special needs brother and sister. So anyways, on to the main story. I was working at home on a server for a local small mom and pop place when I received the call from the entitled Karen of this story. I answered the phone and she started off rather nice, but that was about to change. She said it was her son's 15th birthday and wanted to get him his dream gaming computer, and that I was highly recommended by her friend. So that's when I started to ask my questions. I first asked about the budget and she said $2,000. Secondly, I asked if he had plans to stream videos and make his own streaming content, or make YouTube videos or anything like that. She said she didn't know, so I told her that's okay, but if he did, I would need to know, or we could just straight up plan for that. So after thinking about it, she said let's just plan for it. The third question was, what games did he like, or was he planning on playing? She didn't know this either, and this is when she got aggressive. She said to me, why on earth are you so interested in what my child is doing? So I explained to her, trying to diffuse the tension, that some games have different settings for graphic quality, and it's gonna be at different resolutions. And as I was trying to explain frame rates as well as other aspects of gaming to her, she said to me, just pick what you think would be best and stop picking at my son's life. I then further clarified that I'm asking these questions so I can build him the best PC for his uses. Thankfully, she accepted this and we went on. I was hoping that would be the end of the problems, but things only escalated from there, as this entitled Karen proved to be entirely incompetent as well as incredibly rude. My next question was if there was going to be an Ethernet cable or if he will be using Wi-Fi. This entitled Karen started freaking out when I asked her this, and she started screaming over the phone. She said to me, "Why do you want to know that? So you can hack me or something?" This entitled Karen actually thinks that knowing this information would allow me to hack her. And honestly, why would I? I had to explain again that this is so I could include a Wi-Fi card or a motherboard that has Wi-Fi capabilities, as some come out of the box ready for it. She mumbled something under her breath, but eventually she said, "Fine, but if I get hacked, I'm gonna sue you." I explained to her that no, I'm not gonna hack you, and I just need to know so I can spend more or less on parts. She then said to me that she doesn't want any more questions and that she just wants me to do it. But I told her that I ask these questions to better provide the correct parts and PC services that I can, as this allows me to build to the user. She said, "Well, I think you have enough information, so now you can just do it." But I was thinking to myself, I literally don't have the information, because she literally doesn't know what she's talking about. Maybe it was like a surprise for her kid, and I thought maybe she just didn't want to give it away. But now I think I'm more convinced that she just doesn't know her kid at all. So I just took the most popular games and moderate graphics into account. I gave her the price and totaled everything up, and it came out to about $1,900. Now, mind you, the price of GPUs were coming down around this time, but they were still high. I always charge a $100 build fee, so her total was $1,900 with that fee. She then tried to tell me that I was trying to squeeze her for every penny, and that Walmart was way cheaper than this. They were only around $1,000. So I explained to her that yes, but they are using older hardware, and games are always advancing. I told her that the hardware I was providing her son would allow him to play any modern title, as well as any future ones that might come out. She then asked me if this included the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse, and the desk with the lights. So I explained to her that no, this was just the computer, as she never stated from the beginning that she wanted all of that with the price. I tried to explain that my questioning is all about the build itself, but as you could guess, I never got to it, because she exploded into a rage. She said to me, "You are just a scammer. My son is gonna build his own games, and he's gonna be way more successful than you. You should be lucky to build a computer, and you should do it for free, since he will be famous one day." When she started freaking out and screaming all this information at me, I stayed calm and I didn't say anything. Normally, I would have snapped at this kind of treatment and just straight up hung up on this entitled Karen. But I have a soft spot for people who want to learn technology, and it was her kid's birthday. So I told her that there was no need for such words towards me. She then said to me that she's gonna tell everybody who I really am, claiming that I was just a scammer, and then she hung up on me. The next day, I got a call from her husband, and when he told me who he was, I thought to myself, oh boy, here we go. But surprisingly, he was very nice. I went through the process again, and the computer was to be a surprise. I then asked if they wanted, I could build the PC with their son and teach him as well as everybody else how to do it, and the husband loved the idea. And when the day came around, apparently I was an idol to that kid, as his youth pastor has a custom Marvel case that I built for his computer, who is the person that recommended me. The mom, on the other hand, was just silent and never said a word to me. Me, the dad, and the kid all had fun as I taught them how to build a computer, but the mom just didn't join in. They even spent more at the husband's request, as he wanted his kid to have the best computer possible. When it was all said and done, the dad tried to pay me more, but I refused, as I don't charge more than $100 per build. Now, after all of this went down, believe it or not, I did get a bad review on my store's Facebook page, but thankfully nobody paid attention. And based on her behavior, I'm honestly not surprised. How petty can you possibly be? First off, you try to claim this guy's some kind of scammer, and you call him all these other names just because you don't understand what's going on in the slightest when it comes to computers. And then after all of that, after having him come over and build this computer for your son, you're then gonna leave a bad review on his Facebook store? I mean, that is so petty and just so weird. And you know what? She absolutely knew that she was in the wrong. She was standing over in the corner, sulking, acting like a complete fool the entire time, while her husband and her son are having a lot of fun. So good for the original poster for not only taking on this job anyways, but also thinking of this kid over this stupid entitled Karen. This kid had the best birthday he's probably ever going to have. And if it was up to his entitled Karen of a mother, she could have taken this experience away from him. And he company would have missed out on an awesome opportunity. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Today, I messed up by photoshopping my boss's face onto his entire family photo, and much to my dismay, I accidentally sent that picture to everybody in the company, and as a result, I was worried that I was gonna get fired. Here's what happened. I first want to say that this happened last year, and luckily I have a new job. It was Father's Day of 2022. My boss on my team of 10 sends a photo of his entire family, including his 3 baby grandchildren, his 3 kids, and their spouses and his wife every year. As another note, my boss is not a good-looking man. The face only a blind mother could love. And unfortunately for his family, especially for the female offspring, his genes are incredibly strong. I also hate my boss with a passion. And he had also just brought his lazy son, who is about my age, onto the team, and I was taken out of all client interaction because his son needed exposure. I luckily had one really good work friend on my team who also really hated my boss, but he was higher up and didn't really need to deal with him as much. As this work group chat is going off, we are just ripping into this family. We were both pretty tipsy because you know what? It's Father's Day, and we are not fathers. This entire time we were joking like how crazy it would be if we accidentally sent one of these messages to the wrong chat. I was laughing about it and how we would be an idiot to actually do that. And then I had a eureka moment. I am pretty good with face in the hole and use it often for funny memes. So I face in the hole his ugly face onto his entire family except for his daughter. This included his 2 sons, 3 granddaughters, his wife, and 2 daughter-in-laws. I made this thing a masterpiece. I was using tone, contrast, switched angles to match everything. It was the Mona Lisa of face in the hole. The best part is that you couldn't tell that his daughter's face wasn't edited. In pure excitement of this masterpiece I created, I saved it and immediately sent it to my buddy, waiting for my glorious applause. As I sent it, all of the sudden, a text notification at the top comes from my work buddy that said to me, WTF. It took me a second to register that I just sent that to my entire team. I had not said anything in the group chat at all up to this point. My first message was this picture that had multiple layers of mess ups. I literally jumped up from the couch and threw my phone against the couch, saying the words, oh no, over and over again. I started profusely sweating and pacing frantically in the living room. My fight or flight response kicked in, and I wanted to run like Forrest Gump. My wife freaks out, thinking I just found out that I had some kind of illness or something like that. But instead, I told her what happened. She had no idea the messed up things we were sending. She had just heard me giggling like a schoolgirl across the couch. She immediately tries to calm me down, saying it's probably not that bad. But when I show her the picture, her jaw drops. She then looks at me and says, okay, we need to think of something. I call my buddy who is laughing hysterically at my stupidity, and I'm like, you need to bombard the chat, so hopefully he doesn't see it. He starts sending messages and asks people how their Father's Day was to get more interaction, as I am just panicking and sweating and contemplating quitting before I get fired. My wife ends up having a genius plan by telling me to text my boss saying Happy Father's Day to you and your mini-me's, which I thought was genius, but I sent it like 15 minutes and 20 messages later. So it was just straight up random at that point, and it maybe put more attention to it. My buddy then tells me that another coworker texted him on the side, basically questioning my motive. He basically asked if I was trying to get fired. Now, it was like 9:00 p.m. at this point, and my wife is trying to console me, but I could tell she was worried too. She would say to me, maybe your boss just didn't see that photo where you photoshopped his ugly face onto his entire family, including his baby granddaughters. Needless to say, I couldn't sleep at all that night. I just rolled around sweating, thinking about what on earth I'm gonna say to him and how I'm going to explain myself. Do I come up to him first and just apologize? Do I wait and pray that he didn't see it? I went through every possible scenario in my head, and they all just straight up sucked. So I get ready for work early because I legit couldn't sleep. I felt like a prisoner on death row making his last walk, but I didn't get a tasty last meal because I felt like I was gonna vomit. I'm the first one in the office, and I'm pretending to work and trying to play it cool. Our assistants come in, and I'm thinking, alright, be sharp here and act like nothing happened. And you know what? They say nothing about it, like they didn't see me insult our boss and his entire family via the masterpiece that I photoshopped. I'm starting to calm down, thinking that maybe nobody saw it. Then my work buddy comes in, and he's just dying laughing, which brings my anxiety straight through the roof. He can see me from his office, so every time a new coworker comes in, his eyes get wide, like, oh no, here it comes, and he's just chuckling. But no one says anything. anything. Then the moment of truth comes, and my fat, ugly boss walks in with his fat, ugly son. I start sweating again, and he just walks by me and says nothing. No hi, no good morning, just nothing. So I thought to myself, okay, kind of weird for him, but not bad. I'm watching his every move like I'm some psychoanalyst trying to read a criminal's body language. Yet still nothing happens, and I'm convincing myself that maybe he just didn't see it. Maybe my face in the hole was so good that he thought I just sent the original photo back. 12 o'clock p.m. comes by, and he comes up to me and says, "Hello there, do you want to grab some lunch?" I respond by saying, "I'm not that hungry, I had a big breakfast." So he says, "Well, walk with me across the street to go get some food." And with a lump in my throat, I agreed. The time had come. I didn't get away easily. As we were walking out, my buddy Army saluted me like it was the last time he would ever see me. He starts with small talk, and I can barely answer because I'm just thinking how I would come up with an excuse. I have to wait for this idiot to get his stupid salad bar as I'm starting to sweat again. I looked like a walking food violation because the sweat was coming through my work shirt. We walk back, and he's asking about my career aspirations and all these other things. And the weirdest part about all of this is this guy did not mention anything about that picture in the slightest. He was instead just 100% messing with my mind, and it worked. It was honestly worse than if he had just called it out. I got back to work and I was safe. No one else on the team mentioned it again. My buddy would always randomly send me the photo while working just to try and mess with me. Eventually, I ended up quitting about 6 months later for a much better job, but I'm honestly thinking about sending it to that chat once again next Father's Day, just as a farewell wish to my old boss. Yeah, that is a massive mess up. You Photoshop this picture that's meant to be for you and your friend group just to laugh at your stupid boss that you clearly don't like, but instead you send it to literally everybody at the company. Like, that is a massive oversight. But at least you kept your job, and you were able to get out of there within 6 months and find something else. So if anything, I would just be thanking your lucky stars that you were able to get out of there without any kind of complication. An entitled Karen demands to use our bathroom at our restaurant right as we're closing. But when I tried to enforce our policy of not allowing customers into our restaurant after closing, she demands my manager, and things go in a direction that I honestly never expected. Here's what happened. So last night, about 15 to 18 minutes after we closed, my last table of the night was leaving when a couple barged in and tried to rush straight to the bathroom. I kid you not, they were nearly jogging there. I politely told them that we were closed, and the lady stopped in her tracks, looked at me and said, "Really? You're closed?" Looking right at the couple headed out the door. I confirmed it, told her that they were our last table of the night, and she gave me the dirtiest look. She said to me, "Well, can we at least use your bathrooms?" Now, normally it's whatever. I don't care who uses our bathroom, but firstly, we're closed. I mean, who goes into a place after closing and expects to use the bathroom? And secondly, my boss has been riding my butt about letting people who aren't customers use our bathroom. For the longest time, I didn't really see why it was a big deal, but then he explained to me that the water bill has gone up, and since they're not buying anything, there's not an equal match to cover the price. My boss is a really laid-back guy, so when I saw that he was getting genuinely aggravated with me, I saw I needed to start listening. So I told her, "No ma'am, we're closed and they're for customers only." You would have thought I told her to get her butt out the door the way that she gaped at me. There was a beat of silence, and she said to me, "We were going to be customers. You're the one who told me you're closed." She said this in a super haughty, snarky voice. At this point, she had began to raise her voice at me, but I just kind of stared at her and repeated what I said about being closed. She kept using the same tone. She said to me, "So can we use the bathrooms or what?" At this point, my last table gave me an apologetic look and scooted out the door after handing me my tip. Now, I really considered giving in because I really didn't want to deal with this, but I really didn't want to give this lady what she wanted after having such a rotten attitude. So I repeated what I said, and I said, "No ma'am, we're closed. The gas station across the street has bathrooms. They are open. You can check there." Then those fateful words came out of her stupid mouth. She looked at me and said, "Can I speak to your manager?" Now at that point, I was jumping to get out of the conversation with her, so I gladly went to get my manager. I told my manager what happened, and she was totally on my side. She said that this lady was a complete idiot and headed to the front to deal with this Karen. Now when my manager went out to talk with this lady, all of a sudden, this entitled Karen was super nice. Her tone was totally different. She says that she just wants to use the bathroom and that I have a horrible attitude towards her, and I told her no. My manager tells her we're not allowed to let people in the bathroom after closing. The lady totally ignores her to talk about how the last time she was here, some nice Christian girls waited on her. All the while she's giving me nasty looks. But my absolute favorite line was when the entitled Karen said, "I've never been talked to like this before." Oh, so this lady's never been told no before? That explains everything. Eventually, my manager did give in to this stupid Karen and just let her go use the bathroom, though not after lamenting all the trouble we will surely get into. As the lady walked into the bathroom, she beckoned her boyfriend over and told him that we have 2 bathrooms, but he just shook his head at her and left. That night, my manager implemented the rule that the doors to be locked until the moment we open, as well as the exact moment that we close. Previously, our inside lock was broken, and there's a long story about that, but all in all, she made sure how to figure out how to fix it before we left or ever had to deal with this type of situation ever again. Your manager is such a failure. I'm just gonna say that first and foremost. They could have just said, "No, you need to leave." They could have looked at this entitled Karen in the face and known right away that she is straight up lying. She's trying to use this manager just to get in that stupid bathroom. But instead, she caves to this lady and says, "All right, use the bathroom." Like, no, you gotta stand your ground. You gotta say, "No, you cannot use this bathroom. You need to leave." Because there's a few things that happen here that I have personally experienced in the working world. For starters, you're making your coworker, the one that just came to you and complained about this lady, look like a complete idiot. You're making it seem like this coworker didn't actually know what they were doing. And you're showing to your coworker that no, they can't trust you with getting things done. You're just gonna throw them under the bus, whether you were well-intentioned or not. If there are rules for the restaurant, then you need to enforce them. You don't need to double back just to appease some weird Karen who's freaking out over a bathroom. And you know what? She would have been fine if you told her no. Like, literally, by the time this entitled Karen had stopped complaining, she could have gone to literally any other place, used the bathroom, and been on her merry way. Personally, I've been in situations like this before, where my manager says, "Hey, this is the rules of the store, office, whatever, and this is what we need to enforce no matter what." And when I try to enforce it, and the customer or the person's like, "I want to talk to your manager," and then my manager goes back on what I was asked to enforce, it would honest to God make me feel like I'm going crazy. I would feel so betrayed, and I would feel like, man, my manager does not have my back. And that's exactly what happened here. In my opinion, the manager did not have the coworker's back. They doubled back regardless of the circumstance or how annoying this entitled Karen was, and allowed her to get away with something that was not policy. So personally, if I was the original poster, I would definitely be upset as well. Your manager betrayed your trust, especially after hearing everything about the situation and knowing exactly who she was about to talk to. And that, in my opinion, is a failure on management's part, and it's a massive lapse in trust and respect. My entitled mother-in-law moves into our house and begins to make my life and my boyfriend's life a living nightmare, refusing to clean up as well as refusing to pay her share of bills on time. And I'm so frustrated with this freeloading attitude that I seriously don't know what to do. So my boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years now. We moved in together last year in April, and I got pregnant in May. Everything was great within our relationship, and when I was about 6 months along being pregnant, my mother-in-law got kicked out of her daughter's house for unknown reasons. And that's when she asked us if her and her 3 youngest kids can come and live with us. The kids' ages are 14, 17, and 18 years old. Now, I love my mother-in-law and my boyfriend's siblings. Plus, I felt bad for them, so we both just agreed. But right after we agreed, everything started going downhill. My mother-in-law and the kids are so messy. They make a mess everywhere. In the living room, in the kitchen, in their own bathroom. The kitchen sink is always full of dirty dishes. The trash can is constantly overflowing. The living room is always full of wrappers and clutter. My mother-in-law cooks every so often and will leave all the pots and pans that she used on the stove. She constantly rearranges the living room. She brings her own decorations into the apartment and allows her youngest to bring her friends over whenever they please. She also doesn't pay her share of the bills on time, and sometimes she just doesn't even pay at all. I can't leave anything in the fridge because it will be gone by the time I come home. I have always been a clean person. I keep my room clean. I wash my dishes right after I'm done using them. I clean as I cook. Being clean is essential to living comfortably. I've asked them multiple times to please clean up after themselves, and so has my boyfriend, but they don't change even after promising to do better. It's to the point where I don't invite people over because I'm embarrassed of how messy they make my apartment. 3 months ago, my beautiful son was born, and ever since my son was born, the little privacy I had left was completely gone. They all randomly come into my room to pick him up. They want to look at him and take pictures of him. When he's crying, they knock on my door to make sure that I'm taking care of him. They constantly try to talk to me about his preferences as if they know my baby better than I do. I can't have conversations conversations with my boyfriend anywhere that isn't in our own room because someone is always listening and they will chime in or join the conversation. Alone time is non-existent. Ultimately, this has caused a huge strain on our relationship. We argue a lot and it's mostly because of his family, and it doesn't help that they can hear all of our arguments. My boyfriend says that they have nowhere else to go, and as long as they need him, he will always take care of them, and he will be willing to take them in. I feel depressed, frustrated, and sometimes daydream of running away and living on my own with my son. I constantly feel like I have to wear a mask around my apartment. I'm always uncomfortable. I'm always locked in my room. Our lease is up in 4 months, and I've made it clear to my boyfriend that I don't want to live with in-laws ever again. He said he can't promise that because he doesn't want me to be disappointed in the future if they come in with us again. My in-laws are kind, and they help sometimes when we need it. However, I can't keep doing this anymore. I literally feel like I'm going crazy because I have no privacy and I'm constantly being watched. What should I do here? I've considered moving back in with my parents as I don't think I'd be able to afford living on my own with my son. I don't want to break up, but I feel like my mental health is being pushed to the side. Or should I just wait until the lease is up to see where we're gonna go from there? I know that relationships change a lot after a baby is born, and I don't want to give up my relationship so soon just because of the changes that we're going through. This is all so frustrating, and I seriously don't know what to do. What a rough circumstance to be stuck in. You just had a baby, your boyfriend's mom and his siblings are all kicked out of the house, and now you have to be stuck dealing with them every single day. And I think I would be exactly in your situation. I would be upset, I would be annoyed, and I'd be so furious that my privacy is being taken away from me. For me personally, privacy is a huge thing. I want to make sure that I'm safe and secure and that people can mind their own business. Like, that's a personal value of mine that I just don't feel like I should have to compromise on. And I feel like others should absolutely demand that aspect of their lives as well. So you are not crazy for feeling this way. Your boyfriend's family is overstepping their boundaries. They're first off not cleaning up after themselves, and your mother-in-law is being obnoxious. She's chiming in when she doesn't need to. She's not paying her bills on time or at all in some cases, which is, by the way, a huge red flag as to why she got kicked out from that other house. And they're all disturbing your baby and acting like they know what's best. Like, this is not a fair situation for you to be living in. Your boyfriend clearly can't see things right because obviously they're family and he's gonna try and take care of them no matter what. But if he seriously can't see that this is a major problem in your life and you're clearly in some kind of distress, that he is straight up delusional. There's no way he can't see what's happening. I mean, he's even pointed out to them that they need to clean up more, that they need to do more around the house, and they need to just stay away and mind their own business. The number one priority, in my opinion, should be that baby. Your baby needs care and love, and it doesn't need people trying to take pictures of him and people trying to pick him up and tell you how to run this baby's life. So hopefully you can get through to your boyfriend and show him that, hey, our living situation kind of sucks. This is unacceptable for me and I need some changes. Because honestly, that's exactly what I would want to do, especially if I was surrounded by people who were super obnoxious and clearly did not care about my well-being. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My husband is taking out his frustrations on me specifically in front of his entire family, even going as far as pretending to have a heart attack, claiming that I'm the reason that all of this happened, simply because of an argument that we had. And I'm so sick of this and I'm so disgusted, and I seriously don't know what to do. So to start things off, my husband and I and his entire family went out of town this weekend to go visit his grandpa in a different city for a religious holiday. The entire time that we have been here, my husband has been snapping at me in front of everyone, and this is all over the smallest things. I ask a question and he seems genuinely frustrated. With everyone else, he is talking so nicely, and it's incredibly humiliating to do this in front of his family. When I tried to tell him how I felt, he completely disregarded my feelings and said that that was not his intention and that he is trying his best. So of course I just shut down and I just stopped interacting with him altogether, which he visibly didn't like. He then started to get chest pains out of nowhere and started to blame me, saying I'm giving him a heart attack. So we took him to the emergency room and he actually told the nurse that our argument caused him to have heart issues. Now, I didn't yell or shout at him, so I'm not sure why he would say that. All I did was communicate how I had been feeling this entire weekend, which was feeling like absolute garbage. I think I am genuinely starting to hate my husband. He doesn't care whether I'm comfortable or not. He doesn't care what my needs are. He just wants me to suck up everything. Anyways, I'm putting everything in a box right now because every time time I bring up what's bothering me, he starts to claim that his heart is hurting. As soon as I act normal with him, the heart pain is suddenly gone. It's a miracle. But I can't be normal with this man. He disgusts me. We are currently driving back home, and it's a 4-hour drive, and his mom is hitching a ride with us, and I can seriously see the difference. Making sure his mom is comfortable, asking her if she needs anything. If I say I need to go to the washroom, he huffs and puffs and gets all upset, and he doesn't think he is wrong at all when he does this. I don't want to divorce him, but I also cannot let this behavior slide anymore. What should I do? So let me make sure I got this correct. Your husband pretended to have a heart attack all because you gave up and said to yourself, I'm not going to interact with him any longer. Like, this man really went out there and was like, okay, this is the only way to solve this problem. Not by being nicer to my wife. No, we're not going to do that. I'm going to fake a heart attack and then complain to the nurse about my wife and blame her for my made up issues. I mean, that is seriously insane. That's an entirely different level of manipulation, and that is seriously something you definitely should not overlook. The original poster even went on to say that everything turned out fine and they left the hospital without even seeing a doctor because he just suddenly started feeling better. Like, I cannot imagine dealing with that kind of craziness in my life. So if we are keeping count, this guy has humiliated you in front of his family and now in front of the general public at an emergency room. And that is absolutely not fair for you in the slightest. You deserve so much better than this. So hopefully you can have some kind of conversation with him, hopefully, or at least find some kind of solution where you can find the most happiness in your life. Because from the sounds of it, your husband just doesn't care about you, and it really seems like he's going to continue to treat you like garbage. My girlfriend has a friend that she had a fling with in the past, and I simply want this guy out of our lives, and I seriously don't know what to do. So for a bit of context, my previous relationship ended because my ex was sending underwear pictures to her supposed best friend. I should never have been in a relationship with her from the get-go, but it is what it is. When I ended the relationship, I swore to myself that I'd never put myself in that situation ever again. I would not enter into a relationship with a woman who kept really close male friends. I realized that not all women would behave the way that my ex did, and this agreement with myself was very generalized and pretty unrealistic. I mean, I have friends who are women, and I'm fairly secure as a person, so I canned that ideology and replaced it with no women who maintain friendships with guys that they've been intimate with previously is something that I'm going to pursue. And I personally don't think that's too out there as a rule. 4 months ago, I met someone. We'll call her Jane. That's not her real name. And we clicked immediately. The chemistry is there. The communication is there. We're similar in the right ways and different in the right ways as well. We focus on giving to one another and looking after the relationship while still maintaining our individuality, our friends, and our interests. Now, Jane has a friend by the name of Billy. Billy is not his real name. Jane mentioned Billy at the start of the relationship. As the weeks passed by, it became evident that they were very close. I asked Jane if she and Billy had hooked up in the past, to which she replied that they kissed once when they were drunk. And on this basis, I chose to continue with the relationship. Another few weeks passed by, and Jane, Billy, and myself went out for drinks. And I honestly quite liked him. However, it was clear from his behavior that he was attracted to Jane. It was not surprising, as she was stunning, and she was a lot of fun to be around. It was also clear that they were a lot closer than I had anticipated. Jane was all over me the entire night, so there was no dodgy behavior from her on her end, but I can read Billy like an open book. That night when I got home, I asked her if there was more than she was letting on, and got the categorical no, while also receiving a speech about how honest she's been with both of us. She's aware of Billy's attraction, however, she stated that's his problem and not ours. Another couple of weeks passed by, and she mentioned while she was drunk that they had kissed more than once, and it seemed to be a frequent thing for a period of the year prior, which was before we met. I chose not to say anything and create a safe environment for her to open up about it. Fast forward 2 weeks later, and we went camping, and we were sitting by the fire with a few wines in us. Jane mentioned Billy, and I told her that her relationship with Billy seems more like ex-friends with benefits than just friends. She looked sad for a moment, and then told me that they had spent some quality time together once the year prior. She told me she lied because she didn't want to lose me. She told me how sorry she was and was absolutely showing it. She got quite upset and was scared that I would leave. Now, I'm a pretty understanding guy. However, if I had known about this from the start, I would not have entered into a relationship with her. It's just too messy, and I'm all about zero drama. Our feelings for each other had developed at this point to a deep love for one another. I chose to continue with the relationship and just forgive her. I feel like being with someone is a choice that you make on a daily basis, and quite honestly, I believe that what we have is stronger than a mistake made from a fear of loss of the the other person. She hasn't seen Billy since in a personal setting. However, they do work in the same place. She's told me that she's been avoiding Billy and doesn't really want to talk to him. She also told me that now that she's pulled away, his behavior is making her feel annoyed at him. I have in no way tried to control her actions. I don't bring Billy up or behave in an insecure manner, but I have been giving this a lot of thought in the background. We had a discussion about the situation a couple of weeks ago. I was very honest. I stated that I have no wish to control her and her relationship with Billy, and that was hers to manage. However, I'm not going to lie to her and tell her everything is going to be okay, and that I won't make decisions based on her actions, and that I wouldn't be in the relationship if I knew this from the start, and if any of her personal relationships had the ability to affect our relationship, I would honestly say that it's this one that she had with Billy, and that this could be a potential problem moving forward. Last night she spoke to me, telling me that she feels Billy deserves an explanation as to why she's pulled away. She told me that she was considering going for a pint with him to do this. I reacted calmly, but said to her, just so we're completely clear on what you're asking of me, you want to go have a drink with a guy who you had an intimate relationship with in the past? And when I asked this prompted an emotional reaction. She told me they were friends, and I was ignoring that element of their relationship. I reminded her that I told her this could be a problem for me, and I didn't budge. I told her if she feels like this is something that she has to do, she should do it. However, the person I entered into a relationship with had a friend she kissed once when they were drunk, and that I didn't sign up for a relationship where my girlfriend was maintaining a close relationship with an ex-romantic partner. On one hand, I feel like I'm an understanding person, and I want her to feel free to do what she feels is right. On the other hand, I know this has the potential to force me to leave the relationship. She told me if she has to choose, there's no question, and would choose me in a heartbeat. I don't want to have anything to do with her choice, and will continue to make decisions based on her actions. So it really begs the question, is this an appropriate way to handle the situation? Am I influencing her decisions without verbalizing it? I'm not jealous or insecure. I never bring Billy up in any conversation. I maintain a calm manner, and I'm an open floor when it comes to communication. This is a personal boundary for me though. I don't want her to feel like there's an ultimatum, because there honestly isn't. I would leave the relationship if she chose to maintain a close relationship with him, even though I haven't verbalized this. Whether that's right or wrong is honestly up for debate at this point. What should I do? First off, I want to say that the sketchiest part about this is the fact that your girlfriend wasn't honest with you from the beginning. You've already been burned once. You literally had this exact same situation happen, and you did not want to fall into that kind of trap ever again. So I don't blame you for not being trusting of Billy in the slightest. So in my opinion, I don't think you're in the wrong for telling her, look, I don't want you getting a drink with this guy again. I want him out of our conversation. Like legitimately, she needs to block him out of her life, and if he approaches her, she needs to say, I'm sorry, but I can't have a relationship with you. I can't have a friendship with you, as it really is affecting my relationship. I think the original poster has handled this really well, and I think the fact that she lied to you is a big red flag that you should not take lightly, because you want to invest your time with someone who's going to be honest. And unfortunately, since the beginning of your relationship with her, she has not been completely honest. My former best friend has treated me like garbage in the past and really done some awful things to me, and only now is he trying to make amends and possibly be friends again. But I'm seriously so torn, and I really don't know what to do. So I'm a 22-year-old female, and I used to be close friends with another guy. We started hanging out 3 years back when we were both 19 years old, and we were just really close for about a year. I trusted him a lot, and I opened up to him on a lot of things. Most of my female friends would tell me that he probably had a crush on me. To be honest, there were some signs, but I was never really sure. When we would hang out, it would always be just the two of us alone, and he used to do things that could be considered flirting. He used to play with strands of my hair when standing face to face and tell me that my hair looks beautiful. He wanted to compare our hand sizes, which I thought was odd, but later found out can be considered a flirting technique. I remember one time we were watching a movie together, and he had his hand around my shoulder for some time. He didn't proceed to make a move though, and he didn't kiss me or anything like that. Fast forward to 1 year later, and he started really being mean to me. All of a sudden, his behavior changed, and he would make really rude comments to me in front of our other friends in group projects for college. He would yell at me and talk to me in an ironic way. This went on for another year, and this made me feel really awful because I felt like I suddenly lost a close friend of mine without even knowing what happened. The whole time, I was trying to get him to talk to me and confront him about the situation, but he would refuse to meet me outside of college, and he would just make up excuses. I managed to talk to him about his change in behavior after many months, and he told me some things that were pretty horrible. He basically told me that he had a lot of family issues, and he was really upset these past few months. He said that he just felt like he could take out all his anger on me because he knew that I wouldn't react to it, and I was just an easy target because I'm more passive as a person. He also said that he felt really close to me, and that's why it was easier for him to take all his anger out on me than on his other friends. I was really heartbroken when I heard these words from him. However, he apologized, he recognized his mistakes, and told me that he knows his behavior was awful and that he will try to make everything better between us. That day before I brought up this issue, he also told me that he is a really manipulative person. He said he wants to manipulate his family members because they are really passive people and will just take any insult from him. He talked down on them and said something really creepy that made me question his sanity. He said that he is trying to find a way to make his sister believe that she has the upper hand in their relationship so she can live in the illusion of it, while in reality, he will be able to manipulate her. This started making me feel like he is a psycho or something like that and could be very dangerous. I made the mistake of continuing to hang out with him after that, all the way up until he did something that made me lose all respect for him. The two of us had gone to a concert together, and he met a guy there who had treated me awful in the past. He apparently knew this guy and started talking to him. I felt really uncomfortable having to face him, so I took my friends to the side and explained to him what had happened. He told me, "Okay, this is a friend of mine, and just so you know, I want to hang out with him. I'm gonna go back there and continue my conversation." He then just left me there and went on to make small talk and laugh with this guy who has been awful to me. I just remember being so angry with him that I ended up leaving the concert. Later on, we ended up having an argument over text messaging over what happened. I talked to him about this in person, and he was completely unfazed. He told me that I have no right to tell him who he can and cannot be friends with, and that he can't just start avoiding this guy because he will think that he's weird and socially awkward for doing that. He also said, "If I were in your shoes and a friend of mine reacted the way that I did, I would feel awful, but I just can't feel the same way because it didn't happen to me, and to be honest, I don't really care about my friend's feelings more than my own." He also straight up said to me that I'm very egotistical and that I'm self-centered, while also claiming that I'm insensitive and I'm always putting myself above anyone else. And when he said that, that seriously made my jaw drop. After that, I stopped hanging out with him. He later told a common friend of ours that he feels what he did was wrong, but is now too embarrassed to talk to me about it and even face me in lectures. I lost contact with him and decided I don't want people like him in my life. However, the three of us are currently working on an assignment for college, and I see him more often, and our mutual friend knows about what happened. Now, he just seems like he wants to start hanging out with me all over again. He told me we should go out sometime, and I am thinking of giving him another chance just to see if he wants to apologize to me, but at this point, with all things considered, I seriously don't know what to do. In my opinion, there is no way possible I would ever become friends with that guy. I would get this group project done and then ghost him for life. This guy is seriously just trying to make good with you so he can try and manipulate you some more. That is literally his entire plan. Like, I'm convinced that this guy doesn't care about you in the slightest. He only is trying to make amends because someone else could potentially find out all the details of the way he's treated you. And you said it best, you do not deserve a friend like this because this guy is not a friend in the slightest. He even admitted that he likes manipulating people. He manipulates his family. He's trying to actively manipulate his sister. That is crazy behavior. That is not normal. I would personally be running, not walking away from this guy. And yeah, he was nice to you for like a year, but you know what? That's probably as long as he could keep that mask up and pretend like you're any kind of friend. So personally, I think you can find some much better friends than whatever this guy is trying with you. He does not care about you, and I think he's only gonna try and hurt your feelings all over again. An entitled Kevin who works at Best Buy bans me from his store after I help a customer who asked me for help. And despite explaining that I wasn't trying to steal their customers away from them, they refused to listen and told me to get out. And I've never been more confused and annoyed in my life. Here's what happened. So this happened back in 2019 before stores were closing down due to COVID, and I believe it was around September. So in my area, there are 3 computer stores, and the one I went to was Best Buy. AMD and Nvidia had just released some new products, so I wanted to get one. And while they were out, of course, I then felt a tap on my shoulder while I was in the store. It was a woman who was maybe 28 to 35 years old. She asked if I knew much about computers, and I told her that I do. It didn't occur to me that she thought I worked there, as I wasn't wearing the uniform. She gave me a piece of paper that was a parts list, and said it was for a gaming computer that her brother was gonna build for her son. And what a parts list it was. was. It was so horrible. She had so much incompatible hardware as well as many other things that just didn't make sense. And this guy was absolutely ripping her off. He was apparently going to charge $2,500 for a $900 computer on the high end. I explained to her my concerns and pulled up references, just so she did not think I was trying to pull one over on her. Again, she didn't know I was a customer too at the time. So I went into work mode and I started my questions. And unlike other Karens I've experienced in my life, she knew what her kid wanted, and it made things easy considering the parts that were available. I gave her the list back with my edits to it, which was roughly about $1,500 at the time. I told her if she takes it to the guy at the desk, he would help her out. She then said, "Oh, I thought you might have the keys." And that's when I realized she thought I worked there. So I had to explain to her that I did not. She laughed about it and then asked if I would be willing to build it, since it seems like her brother was going to just rip her off. So I told her sure. She said that she was willing to pay what she was going to pay her brother. I told her no, I do this as a business and I don't charge over $100 per build. So she would end up saving around what the PC would have costed her. Well, right at that time, an entitled Kevin of the store appeared after hearing that last part. He got up in my face, and I mean a few inches before he was going to kiss my cheek. That's how close he was. He started telling me I am not allowed to steal customers. Now, I've worked retail and convenience store at a manager level. I know the rules on stealing sales from a location, and I was not doing anything intentionally as she asked me for help, and not the other way around. She tried to explain on my behalf what happened, but he did not care and said that I need to leave and that he'd be happy to help her out. Now, Best Buy doesn't work on commissions, so it wasn't that, but instead it was just a jerk move to do, as I wasn't there to try and poach customers. She told him no and to get the manager. So eventually the manager was called and she let loose her grievances. Now, I stayed back because if I butted in, it could have made this thing look a lot worse, since it looked like I broke the rules in some kind of way. Well, the manager was on the employee side, of course. He even went as far as to ban me from the store. Yes, I was banned from Best Buy for something I didn't do, as this was asked of me and not me asking her. She was mad now and told the manager that she wouldn't be back anymore and will tell people how they really treat customers. Mind you, I've had many random people who just fall into my lap with PC questions. I don't do this door-to-door salesmanship looking for people. I have them go to my online site, but that is usually it besides phone calls. I even told the manager that I have a business that uses his store to buy parts if the Rainforest site is out of stock. Well, he didn't care, because in his eyes, I was trying to steal a customer. Well, this entitled Kevin looked smug like he won. But what did he win? Why the smirk on his face when he literally just lost 2 customers that were about to spend $3,000+ that day alone? And if they weren't out of stock, I absolutely would have spent that money. Well, we left, and I did indeed build a computer for her, but I gave her a keyboard and a mouse pad, since the kid didn't have anything but an old keyboard, and I mean old. I set down the tower on the desk and even did some wire management for tripping safety. The kid was in school, and she wanted to do a surprise video of him walking in to see it. And all is well that ends well, I guess. I still don't go to that store, but she ended up paying me $300 for the build. I did try to refuse, but she wanted me to have it as an apology for the store incident. Their family has kept in contact ever since, because her husband is a huge anime nerd just like me. The entitled Kevin of this story was completely out of line. There is no reason for them to ban this guy from the store simply because he was answering somebody's PC questions. Like, that is absolutely overboard. That is so uncalled for. And yeah, they lost a sale. It's not like you were going there intentionally to try and pick up customers. Like, you didn't go there with that specific intention. You were just going there to try and get some equipment that you thought that they had. I mean, talk about just ruining it and just not knowing what you're doing. So honestly, at least you got a good customer out of it, and hopefully that pays off in the end, because that store is definitely being very dumb, and there's no reason that they should have treated you like that. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. I've asked my partner to move out countless times, and at this point, I feel like our relationship is on the line, and I seriously don't know what to do. So I've been living with my partner for the past 2.5 years of the 4 years that we've been together. We were initially long distance, but decided to move in together after lockdown. We've lived in 2 flats so far, and since moving into our current flat, I have felt a drastic change in the atmosphere as well as the dynamic of our relationship. We have argued almost every day since living here, and 99% of the time, it's over petty domestic household issues that get get blown way out of proportion. But now it's at the point where living together is becoming impossible. During the move-in process, I was in charge of organizing almost all the furniture that we needed, and I devoted a lot of time to an organizational system as well as a list of necessities for our flat and our pets. I was just trying to be responsible. I took a month off of having a job to get everything in order for the flat. Everything was spotless constantly. We never ran out of anything. The washing was kept on top, but despite feeling positive about the flat itself, my mental health was terrible, and I knew I needed a job. I managed to find a part-time job across the road, so I still had time for myself and home, as well as being able to make a decent wage. My partner currently works full-time in a different city and rarely gets home before 6 o'clock p.m., but I explained once I started working again, he would need to start taking over his part of the responsibility of everything. It feels like a constant battle with him over this. He uses the excuse of having no time to finish the things that I ask him to do, but only sometimes works an extra day a week. It's not so much that he spends his days off doing nothing, but the jobs he does do are usually done halfway. For example, I sorted through a load of old junk that we had, threw away what I knew I could, and left him 2 carrier bags of random garbage to sort through. It was literally untouched for a week, and then I found everything back in the place that I had originally brought it from. I literally found a tube of unopened toothpaste shoved under the sofa. I also spent hours sorting through our clothes and separating the dirty washing from the clean clothes and a box to donate to charity. I came home yesterday to him saying that he'd sorted it all out, and it turns out that he mixed the dirty and clean clothes back together in all my drawers. Needless to say, I was very annoyed, but even more so, as 2 hours prior, I had specifically told him not to touch the clothes, as I would do it myself on my next day off. But he didn't listen, nor did he do the job right. Our pets are a massive part of my life too, and keeping on top of their food and water, as well as cleaning and everything else has always been my job. Even if he cleans the cage, I usually have to ask him to do it first. I make my own food mixes for them, and although he's been with me to the shop every time I've bought the supplies, he told me he didn't have a clue as to what they ate or what to buy. I mean, we've been giving them the same food for over 2 years now. Although those kinds of issues sound really minor and just really frustrating on a basic level, the way this has piled up on me has just been completely overwhelming. And on top of this, every time I try to rectify the issue, he turns it into a massively blown out of proportion argument, and we argue literally all night. I feel as though he thinks that I bring these problems up as a way of picking on him or something like that, but I'm literally doing it to function in my household. No matter what, I've always felt like I've devoted all I can to this relationship. Like we had already been through a lot of emotional things before this, because he had been dishonest with me about a lot of stuff, and the thanks that I get for forgiving it all is living with someone who won't cooperate with me over really simple things. My overall deep down feeling is even if we're compatible as people, we are not compatible to live with each other. His habits drive me up the wall, and he's convinced I literally just hate him simply because I communicate problems to him. Every single time I've told him that it isn't working and that he should just move out, he either cries until I change my mind and says that he can't be without me, or bluntly tells me that things will be fixed by tomorrow and none of this will ever happen again. Well, after 4 years of experience of things not getting better, I don't know why he expects me to believe him. It's now to the point where I feel like I don't even get a choice as to whether we live together unless I move out. And as I said, I organize all the furniture and essential stuff that has ended up in our flat. His stuff would fit in 1 suitcase, whereas I would probably need 2 moving vans. And to add to the criticality of all of it, my dad has recently been in talks with us about helping us get a mortgage on our own house. The house would absolutely be in my name, and it terrifies me to think that things could literally be exactly the same there as they are here, except everything that he breaks and everything he does halfway, and every argument that we will have will be on my property. I don't want the financial or emotional stress of trying to cooperate with him over such a massive investment. I'm honestly just not sure how to approach this situation now. I've felt at a dead end with him for so long, and I don't want to pretend like I'm happy or that things are fine for the sake of avoiding conflict and accidentally end up spending the rest of my life stuck in a relationship that is straight up not working. I love him as a human being. I think for the most part he has good intentions, but sometimes it feels more like having a teenage son, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. I would not buy a house with this guy. There's no way that needs to happen. He is literally showing you exactly who he is, and I think buying a house at this point is just not going to be a good idea for you. And you said it yourself, you've put a lot of work into this flat, and you've put a lot of work into your life and relationship. The least he could do is some kind of chore to try and help out around the house, because these actions are just completely unacceptable. He's being very irrational, and he's not being fair in the slightest. You do a lot of work just for him to sit around and not do anything. So hopefully this can be figured out, because honestly, I think moving out and having some distance might be a good idea, and hopefully you're able to get past his fake temper tantrums, as well as him claiming that things are gonna get better. Today, I messed up by using a noise machine to go to sleep, and as a result, my wife, who was locked out of the house, had to call the fire department and the police department just to try and wake me up and let her into the locked house. And in retrospect, I really do feel really stupid. Here's what happened. So my wife and I had been out all day doing things with our friends, rock climbing, a birthday party, an engagement quiz night, stuff like that. I was exhausted and decided to go home while my wife stayed to finish up the quiz night that she was directing for her good friend's engagement. We conveniently live around the corner, so I said goodnight to everyone and told the wife I'd leave the door open because she had forgotten her set of keys at home. She said she felt uneasy about the door being unlocked, but I said it should be fine, as we've never had anyone try and come in unannounced before. I got home, I went upstairs, I turned on the noise machine, and I fell asleep. Eventually, I woke up to an unfamiliar voice telling me to wake up from the ground floor outside the bedroom window. I figured it must have been one of her friends walking her home. I walked downstairs in my boxers to open the door, which I apparently locked on instinct, and my wife just stares at me and angrily says, "Why didn't you pick up your phone?" It was dead and I hadn't charged it, as I was just too exhausted. While I was wondering why she hadn't used the doorbell, I look behind her and I see a few policemen and some firefighters. I ask her curiously if she knows what was going on, and that's when she looks at me and goes off. She says, "I thought you were unresponsive or in trouble. You're the lightest sleeper in the world, but you didn't hear the doorbell. You didn't hear the metal music I blasted in the living room via the Bluetooth speaker, and you didn't hear me yelling your name with the window beside you. So I had to get the firefighters just to take a ladder and yell at you from the bedroom window on the second floor." Now, when she said this, I was shocked and confused. She then came inside, went to bed with me, and I cuddled her and apologized. The next morning, I went downstairs to try the doorbell and knock while she was in the bedroom with the noise machine on. And you know what? She couldn't hear any of it. Since then, we've put a few new measures in place to help prevent a similar situation in the future. We are now joking about it, but I think it will be a sore spot for quite a while. This is actually really funny if you think about it, because on your end, you probably had an amazing nap. You slept really well and you just didn't have any problems. But from your wife's perspective, she's probably furious, and she was angry enough to have to call the police, as well as getting the firefighters down there just to wake you up. And I think you hit the nose on the head. You can probably joke about it for now, but I think it really will be a sore spot for quite a while. She was locked out of her house, and no matter what she did, you would not wake up. And it's also really good that you guys now know that your doorbell, as well as knocking on the door while you're in the bedroom with the noise machine on, is not enough to alert you of anything that's going on. So I think in essence, you've at least discovered a security problem with your house that both of you are now prepared for. And if anything, considering all the trouble your wife had to go through, at least that could be some kind of silver lining. My boyfriend sent a slightly strange message to an old female friend claiming that we are engaged, despite the fact that we are not engaged and we never have been. And I'm seriously weirded out and I don't know what to do. So my boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years. We bought a house together a few months back, but other than making jokes about running off just to elope, getting married hasn't really been much of a conversation. But we obviously are very serious about the relationship as a whole. I mean, we did buy a house together after all. Now, I consider us to be very open and very honest. We tell each other everything. We don't go through each other's phones or anything like that. So, to be completely honest and transparent, I have no clue who he's messaging. And also, to be honest, I don't really care. He moved to where we live a couple of years before we met from 1,500 miles away. He's told me all about his hometown friends, including the one he sent messages to. I've met a bunch of his friends, but not this friend in particular, who is the subject of this story. They've been friends since high school, but haven't really hung out consistently since they graduated, but would go through phases where they would hang out a bunch, and then phases where they barely saw each other. It was just a normal friendship kind of thing. He has seen her once since he moved here about 2 to 3 years ago. He did tell me that he made a pass at her once before, about a decade ago, but she shut him down and that was that. They'll text like once a year, according to him, just to catch up about little things, and that's it. But he did say that when he made a pass at her, it's because he always found her attractive and wanted to take his shot while she was single, and they haven't been single at the same time ever since. So now on to the messages. When she asked how he was doing, he said to her, "Great, great, finally bought a house, and I'm engaged. She congratulated him and then made a joke about how she's single again and hates men at the moment. And he said to her, well, if I remember correctly, you were pretty good at sifting through the nice guys to choose the biggest jerks. And that was the end of the conversation. And I know what you're thinking. It's no big deal. And maybe I need to be told that I'm overthrowing, but I feel like he only said we're engaged just to try and make her jealous. And then he immediately pointed out with the next comment that she turned him down. Like, what was he doing? Was he trying to spark something and feel out the waters? Or am I completely overthinking this entire exchange? Why would he want her to be jealous if he is supposedly fine with her turning him down and happy being with me? I'm not sure why he would tell someone that we're engaged, because fun fact, we absolutely are not engaged. Also, for the record, I wasn't going through his phone. He asked me to go on his laptop to read a measurement he needed for something that he was installing into our house. He asked me to do these kinds of things for him quite a bit, and I must have forgotten that he had his Messenger tab open and the conversation was literally right there. I shouldn't have read it, but I did. And now I'm at a crossroads and I seriously don't know what to do. So there's two things that come to mind. First and foremost, it is incredibly weird that your boyfriend has said to somebody in the past that he really liked that he is engaged to you, especially when that is blatantly not the truth. You're not engaged. You did buy a house together and you do live together, but you're not engaged and ready to get married. That's not what's actively happening. So I think you questioning why he's doing this in such a way where he's lying about you guys being engaged just to seemingly make some girl jealous that he used to like that's really weird in my opinion. There's also the possibility that he might be proposing to you soon. Like maybe there's a situation where he's like telling people ahead of time, hey, me and my girlfriend are engaged, even though he hasn't proposed and you haven't said yes. In fact, even with that in mind, this is still really creepy. And in my opinion, this is definitely a red flag. So I think all in all, it is pretty fair to have some kind of conversation with him. And like you said, you didn't snoop through his stuff. You didn't look through his messages and try and figure out what's going on. He asked you to go on his laptop and his messages were just open at the time. It's not like your eyes can selectively choose what they do and don't see. But I think you just need to remember that yes, you have a good relationship, and no, you shouldn't come at this in an aggressive way. Just be casual and kind about it. Try and figure out what's going on and see where you stand as a couple, because you have a good thing going here. And from the sounds of it, I think you both can work through this and figure things out. My wife spends a lot of alone time with another man and refused to tell me about it until I confronted her. And now I am so blown away and I seriously don't know what to do. So as the title suggests, I'm upset that my wife told another man to not tell me that they were hanging out. My wife and I have a mutual friend. He comes over multiple times a week and hangs out. Lately, my wife and he have been texting consistently every day and hanging out in person. They would watch TV together, they would go shopping, they would go on walks together with our baby, etc. I had an anxiety attack a few weeks back because she had told me that he is a good friend who's making her happy when I can't while she's alone at home and I'm working. And it made me feel that the relationship is compromised. She assured me that nothing was wrong, and I then started trying to do everything I can think of to try and fill any voids or deficiencies that I have contributed to in the relationship and reduce her loneliness, like coming home early from work or spending more time out of the house together with her. Anything I could think of. Fast forward to a few days ago, and I'm out and about and I FaceTimed her. She says she's busy and hangs up on me mid-sentence, and it honestly felt like she was trying to hide the fact that she was talking to me. I later get home and ask her how her day was and what she was up to, and she instantly gets defensive, wondering why I'm interrogating her. She then admits that she was hanging out with this friend. She picked him up and that she told him not to tell me that they were hanging out together because she knew how I would react. But she said this in such a way that felt like she was being super defensive or even guilty. I texted him earlier and he said he was at home, which means he followed what she asked him to do and continued the lie. I told her that I don't feel comfortable with this now and that I don't want to have to get rid of her friend, but I don't think I can feel okay in a relationship like this. She responded with accusations that I don't trust her and that I'm trying to take away her friend, and that if I was more present and a better partner, then she wouldn't feel the need to keep things from me because of how I react to them. I am so hurt by this and I seriously don't know what to do. In my opinion, your wife is 100% in the wrong. She's basically blaming you for the relationship that she has with your friend. She's basically committing an emotional affair, and according to her, it's all your fault. She's very clearly trying to gaslight you and say, oh, if you had just been more available, I wouldn't have spent time with this guy behind your back, and I would have been able to be more honest about what's going on. No, if she was a better wife, she would have told this guy to get lost in the beginning. She clearly has compromised values, and she's trying to blame blame you for that. I'm personally all about people getting help for their mental health, and people should be responsible for taking those steps and trying to find solutions to their mental health problems. But for her to blame you in this way and basically say it's your fault that she spends all this time with this guy is completely unacceptable. And to top it all off, she told this mutual friend to lie for you. She literally lied to your face and told this guy to keep secret whatever relationship they have. And hopefully there's nothing else sketchy going on, if you know what I mean. So in my opinion, this is absolutely not your fault. They are clearly dating in some kind of way, and she's trying to hide something from you that probably is way more scandalous than you can possibly realize. An entitled Karen gets up in my face and starts screaming at me for taking a disabled parking spot, claiming that fat people like me don't need disabled parking spots, and that I was trying to work the system. And as a result of getting up in my face and bothering me and everybody else in the parking lot, this entitled Karen got banned from every Walmart in my state. Here's what happened. So for a bit of backstory, I have a disability parking pass that I only use when I need it. At my local Walmart, there are Parallel's disability parking spots. They are there for those that need to get equipment out or have ramps that need to extend. There are traditionally oriented disability spots too. There's also this dangerous habit of nearly everyone at Walmart to park perpendicular in the parallel spot. I don't use disability parking that often, but my husband walks with a cane and uses them a lot. But he parks correct though. Those that are parked in the correct manner will pull so forward that they block access to the painted sidewalk, which defeats the purpose of parallel parking spots, as even the side of the sidewalk is now blocked from using their ramps. I have made multiple complaints to 2 different store managers and called Walmart themselves, but nothing came of it. One of my coworkers is legally blind and is temporarily blind as she has an upcoming surgery. Her husband is her eyes and gives her rides to fill her prescriptions as needed. He is quarantining this week due to COVID, so I offer to help her get her medication. I drop her off at the door per her request and say I'll park and come in just in case, as I wanted to make sure she was solid. So I park the car in the parallel spot. It's all that's open, and my coworker generally cannot squeeze herself and her service dog into the tight spots of this parking lot. I park and spend a second looking for my permit, as it doesn't live on my rearview mirror because I only use it if I'm driving my husband or I know that I will need it. So it's been about 8 minutes before I leave my car. Right then at that moment, an SUV pulls up and starts to yell at me. I didn't know who it was, so I just keep walking. And the lady that gets out of her car is the entitled Karen of this story. She walks up, grabs my shoulder, which spins me around, looks at me and says, "Are you deaf? Move your car." I look at her and I say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I accidentally take your spot?" I thought maybe she was waiting for it and I took it without realizing it. She says to me, "No, this is a disability parking spot and I need to park there." Now, I don't judge anyone because disabilities are often invisible. To set the scene, she wasn't walking without any kind of aid. No cane, no crutches, no wheelchair, nothing. And she did run up on me. I say to her, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I need the space." And that's when this lady said something to me that honestly blew my mind. She looks at me and says, "Well, nothing looks wrong with you, and being fat isn't a disability. You need to move your stupid car." Now, when she said this, I was honestly blown away. As a side note, being overweight is a disability in my state if it's secondary. I'm fat because I'm disabled. I'm not disabled because I'm fat. This entitled Karen is screaming at me so loudly. She says, "Look, everyone else can park, right?" And she screamed this at me while pointing at the cars parked perpendicular in the parallel spots, even though only one person is supposed to park there. So I chime in and say, "Actually, they're parked wrong, and they are blocking disability access to those who need it." Now, I know I shouldn't have engaged, but I did. Sometimes I have an issue of just keeping my mouth shut. I just shrug and I start walking away because my coworker is probably waiting on me inside, as it's been a minute, and I didn't want her to think that I had left her to fend for herself. The greeter and the cart guy are heading out at this point, and the entitled Karen, with her car in the middle of the road blocking as many people as possible, sees these people walking up and screams out, "This fatty is using a spot for handicapped people and needs to move her stupid car so I can have it. If she doesn't, I'm going to call the cops and have it towed." Now, I know this is an empty threat, as a private citizen can't have a car towed from private property without the owner or manager's permission. This is not my first fiesta when dealing with this kind of stuff, so I just keep walking in, as I know she doesn't have anything on me, and I see my friend heading out with a dog that clearly has a vest on that says "Blind Assist Service Dog." The entitled Karen tries to grab at me one more time to spin me around, but I deflect and end up getting her nose with my elbow. It was an honest force reflex from years of self-defense classes. But I digress. I don't notice at the time that I made contact, as I'm singularly focused on my coworker and getting her somewhere safe. I insist that she take my arm as I lead her to the car and get her settled. During the brief walk, I give her the 90-second rundown and tell her I'll give her the full story on the ride back to her place. By this point, a manager has come out and asked me what happened, indicating that the entitled Karen is supposedly bleeding. Now, I didn't break her nose, but I did unfortunately make it bleed. It was an accident after all. And you know what? It sucks to be her. I did it in self-defense, and there were at least 2 other store employees as my witnesses. I tell the story to management, and I let them know that I was helping my blind friend get her medication from the pharmacy. He saw her on the way out, and I confirmed that they were the same person. So I turned to the entitled Karen, who is now going off on the cart guy, and I say to them, I got this spot for my blind friend. She's the reason I have this space. Is she disabled enough for you? I can see the color draining from the screamer's face, and she stutters out something like, prove it. Where is she? Have her prove that she's blind. Thankfully, the cart guy is between her and my car, so she can't make it to where I'm parked. The manager says to just go. Get out of here right now. I had given the manager my number to follow up and said that I'd be glad to come back as I'm here all the time, but I needed to get my friend home. A few days later, I get a call from the manager stating that he only wanted me to give the story just in case something happens, or she tries to file some fake claim against me. After reviewing the camera, they can prove that this entitled Karen came into the lot long after I had parked. She had already been warned about bullying others out of their space at least twice before as well. She insisted that cops were called, so they did just that. The cops ran her permit and discovered it belongs to her mother, who passed away 2 years ago. They took the permit and warned her that it would be a $400 fine for using someone else's permit improperly. They didn't ticket her, as she wasn't in a disabled spot when they got there. They did threaten to have her cited with a double parking, as there were still people trying to get out, and she was blocking them into their spaces. This didn't surprise me, as most people don't use the word handicap in my area when they are legitimately disabled. It's become somewhat of a slur now to insult the disabled, so we run far from it. The manager also stated that as this is not the first nor the second time that this has happened, she has been trespassed and won't be allowed at any Walmart store in the state. I mentioned that there are 4 Walmarts in the county alone, and he said that her pictures get sent to all of them, so she can't enter or park in any of them in the state. She can make the over 2-hour drive to the next closest Walmart out of state, or she would have to shop somewhere else. The closest Target to me doesn't sell food, and they're about an hour's drive away too. He told me this just in case I had any issues, as he was concerned about any kind of retaliation. He says to me, if I see her in the lot and I don't feel safe, call the store and have someone escort you to and from your car. They can also call the cops to have her trespassed at that point. He wasn't concerned it would actually, but he wanted me to have all the information so that I could act upon it as I wished. So the moral of the story is that if you come to me in a nice way, I will bend over backwards to help you out. But if you come at me in the way that this entitled Karen did, then you can guarantee that I absolutely will not help you. That is honestly insane to me that someone would really ask, hey, prove to me that you're blind. Like, what is wrong with people? If someone's parking in a disabled parking spot, I'm going to assume that they actually need it, one way or another. Like the original poster has it right. Some disabilities are completely invisible, like you just don't know if someone has something or not, and it's not totally obvious like having a wheelchair or a cane. So the fact that this entitled Karen literally stopped traffic just to basically assault this woman is insane to me. Like, she seriously was so far out of line. So hopefully her being banned from every Walmart in her state will teach her the lesson that you just can't treat people this way, whether she actually needed the parking spot or not. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My girlfriend of 8 years said that she has feelings for my friend, and as a result, she ended up cheating on me, forcing us to break up, and I now feel completely broken and I don't know what to do. So my now ex-girlfriend had been together with me since 7th grade. We were very young at the time and dated for about 1.5 years. In 10th grade, which was back in 2017, I had realized I still possibly had some feelings for her, and we decided to get back together. We went through many life changes together, such as graduating, moving out of our parents, spending quality time together, and all other things that occur as we grew up, and it was amazing. In 2021, I started a new job and I met a coworker who turned into one of our best friends. He was raised in Saudi Arabia, so he had some very strong viewpoints on certain things such as cheating, and had strong morals. He helped my girlfriend get a job at his work, York when her and I moved into our first apartment together. Around this time, we also had 3 cats who we love very much. They did not have a demanding job, so they usually ended up talking and hanging out all day, and I would usually talk to her throughout the day too, because we were always communicating and loved to talk. This was never really an issue, but slowly over the course of the last 6 months, they grew to be very close friends as well. Since their work was very close to our house, he usually ended up coming over after his shifts and we would all hang out together. Starting around February, my girlfriend began to say that she was having these feelings and she couldn't explain it because nobody would understand. Eventually, this turned into her drinking heavily just to deal with it. Over the last couple of months, I could tell that it was all taking a toll on her, and she eventually opened up to me about her having feelings about our friend. She said he was in her head all the time and she was so confused about everything. She also said she feels like our spark was not like it was at the beginning of the relationship, but she still wanted us to be close. Our friend was an adventurous person by nature and always wanted to go out to places and do stuff. Unfortunately, at the time, I was not being the partner I should be, and I never really helped her out around the house with cleaning or chores or anything in general. She always got so frustrated about it. I could tell that our friend was over almost all the time, but I enjoyed being with him. We were honestly like brothers. Sometimes I would go to sleep and my girlfriend would hang out with him for a couple of hours afterwards, and even a couple of times stayed up all night talking to him. But she was always truthful to me and said nothing physical ever happened, and he said the same thing. He told me I was like a brother to him, and he views us like family. Throughout all of this, I could see she was talking to him more and more, and he was always in her head. We had talks about how we needed to focus on our relationship between us two, and go out and do things to make us stronger. I started becoming a better person and was doing my own household duties to help bring us closer. She even quit drinking completely and tried to help the situation. Even on her 21st birthday a couple of weeks ago, she did not drink. Unfortunately, I could see that he was still in her head. She communicated this to him too, and he said he was going to step back and let us work it out, while also saying that he felt horrible that this is where it led to. This was short-lived, as he just usually ended up coming over anyways, because we both wanted to see him. Looking back now, I should have put my foot down and not let him come around anymore. About a week ago, she told me that she is confused about everything and she loves me, but recently she has not been feeling as strongly towards our relationship, and she hated herself for the way that she was always thinking about him. Eventually, she brought up breaking up and said that she wants to stop hurting me and that she is so confused. That night, we went out for a walk and we went out to eat and have a movie. The next day, she brought it up again over text messaging and said that she thinks we needed to be done. I texted our friend and he was very upset and said that we were too good for each other. I asked him if he felt the same way about her, and he said he loves her as a person and a friend, but could never do that. She went up to the city where he lives, where we used to live, which is about 30 minutes away, to clear her mind. She even bought alcohol and said she felt that she needed to clear her mind and went for a walk alone. She then went to a place where our friend was having a barbecue with his friends, and she started talking to him about everything. He was talking to me at the same time of saying that he was trying to get her to come back and talk to me, but she refused to go. She said that she needed to stay up there and think about things, and said that she was going to sleep in her car instead of coming back down. Now, honestly, because I'm a caring boyfriend, I didn't want this, because the city is not necessarily safe. So when my friend told me that she could stay at his place and that he would sleep in a different room, I was frustrated, but I did end up allowing it, simply for the fact that my friend said he doesn't have any feelings towards her. The next day, I tried to get her to come back and talk about what she wanted to do, but she said she couldn't, and she stayed another night. Now, at this point, I was distraught, because I knew our relationship was potentially coming to an end. The next day, she finally came back down. I met her at the Target parking lot, where she was hysterical, and admitted that my friend did not sleep on the couch, and they ended up kissing and spending some quality time together. Now, when I found this out, I was incredibly hurt. She said that she's so confused and she just messed up, and she was worried that I would never want to be with her anymore. But even with all things considered, she still said that she loves me. But she did understand that things had to be over. We have now been separate for a couple of days and have been texting about our plans for animals and living situations. She's also been saying how sorry she is and how she's been having a hard time grieving what happened. We still care for each other and want everything to end as smoothly as possible. As for me, I'm completely broken, and I told our friend I will never be speaking to him ever again. again. He didn't have much to say, and I could tell that he felt bad. He then admitted that it happened 2 times, once each night. This made it entirely worse. I have been feeling horrible and detached and heartbroken that she will not be in my life anymore. I know that she has stayed at his house for a couple of days since she told me everything, which also makes me feel bad as well. I love her so much still, and I would do anything to be with her again, but I know that we cannot be back together. I feel as if I will never love again, and I lost my best friend in my life. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. First and foremost, I think you need to understand that you did not do anything wrong. Your girlfriend cheated on you, and she was basically leading up to this moment for a very long time. And not only that, your best friend is an absolute jerk. He lied to your face. He said, "Oh, I don't have any feelings for her. By the way, could she spend the night?" Like, what in the world is going on? Your ex-girlfriend will never be anything more than just a cheater. She clearly did not value your relationship in the slightest, and hopefully that fact in and of itself will help you move on in some kind of way. And I think it's also ironic that your friend has such high values about cheating and all this other stuff, because clearly that was a lie. So hopefully when you get your living arrangements taken care of, as well as the animal situation set up, you can move on and never deal with these people ever again. Because honestly, they are not good people, and they would only cause you harm in the future. My husband has been cheating on me since November, claiming that we're in an open relationship as well as an open marriage, and that I should be okay with him talking to other women. And after I tried to reinforce boundaries that we had agreed upon, he starts to guilt trip me and say that he's gonna move to Alaska. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So my husband and I have been married for about a year. We've been together for 6 years in total, and he moved states about a year into our relationship to be with me in my hometown. Before Christmas time, I noticed a missing sum of money from our joint account, and so I asked him about it. He said that he had bought something from a friend, and I just let it go. On Christmas, we went to his family's house, and he insisted he wanted to go out for guys' night and leave me there. When he got back that night, he was very serious and talked to me about how he almost did something that would have disappointed everyone and rescinded his personal growth, but framed it as a potential substance use. I asked him for marriage counseling because I felt insane for thinking this amazing man could be carrying on behind my back. On our way home, I found the text message between him and another woman, but thought it was purely emotional and that they had not met in person. He agreed to end things and move forward to repair our relationship. I found out he'd still been in contact with her on my birthday about 3 months later, and again, he said that he'd end things. After this, I blocked her on his phone, and when she reached out again, he sat me down and we discussed it. I was so proud of him for being open with me. I was disappointed in myself for even having blocked her behind his back, but he said he would keep her blocked, and what's done is done. It turns out that he told her I'd blocked her because I was jealous, but since we were allegedly in an open marriage, it shouldn't have mattered. When I found out on my birthday, I told him that if it happened again, that was it. He needed to leave. I pay the bulk of our bills due to income differences, and our home is in my name, which I now see may have been emasculating for him. Things had seemed great in our relationship ever since. It felt like we were both making progress in the right direction and actively exerting effort for the good of our relationship. My husband has been no contact with his family for nearly the entirety of our relationship, and over the past weekend, we went to visit his entire extended family again. He said it made him so happy and proud to bring me around everyone and for them to see us love each other. I found out yesterday when I finally reached out to this other woman that he'd not only been continuously in contact with her, but things were much more serious than I ever could have anticipated. He reached out through mutual connections to get in contact with this woman specifically. He told her that we have an open marriage, and I found out that the guy's night that he had at Christmas was actually a private date with her. We saw each other, I waved them goodbye, and they didn't spend any quality time together, if you know what I mean. But that doesn't change what happened. My husband and I sat down yesterday and talked it out after I tried to stand by my boundary of separating. I just couldn't do it. For reference, we live in the southeastern United States, and when I mentioned the boundary, he literally started to book a flight to Alaska. I love this man. I've built a home for him. We've both had turbulent childhoods, and while it's not an excuse, I just couldn't bring myself to leave him without a home. So honestly, where do we go from here? When we talked, he said my separation boundary made him feel like I'd already abandoned him, but I never thought it would actually reach this point. Not only that, but I couldn't even follow through. I can't give up, and he seems to think that I already did. Is it possible to repair our relationship? What should I do? It sounds like your husband's trying to play games. He gets confronted about him cheating on you, and his first reaction is, okay, I'm gonna get a flight to Alaska. Like, what are you talking about? Who does that? This guy is seriously just trying to guilt trip you and make it seem like this is your fault for being upset that he's cheating. Like, what on earth is happening? He literally left you at Christmas to go on a date with another woman. Like, this is all just a big dumpster fire that he started. He even tried to pawn off your marriage as something that it's not, calling it an open marriage as if you would be okay with the messing around that he's doing, which obviously you're not. He's playing stupid games, and in my opinion, he's about to find out the stupid prize, with that being the possible end of his marriage. So in my opinion, this is not something I would ignore. The way he's acting is super sketchy, and you do not deserve this kind of treatment in the slightest. An entitled Karen tries to steal my bird off of my hand in public, claiming that I don't deserve to have a bird like this, and that she should have my bird instead. And I've never been more angry or flabbergasted by an interaction in my life. Here's what happened. So to start things out, I decided today is the perfect day to pop the harness on my bird. They're a sulfur-crested cockatoo, and I wanted to take her out to PetSmart. So I got her in her carrier, put the carrier into the car, and on the road we went. She did remarkably well, and didn't even get car sick. But you know what tiny detail I forgot? People talk to you if you bring a bird to a store, whether you want them to or not. Now, I'm very good at dealing with people. Years of retail work, restaurant work, stuff like that. All of this has trained me in the art of small talk. The PetSmart workers were fantastic, actually. They asked the basic general questions. No one asked to touch her. Everyone kept a respectful distance and didn't overwhelm her or me. But the other customers of the store, not so much. There was one woman in particular who really caused me problems, and that's the entitled Karen of this story. She told me about all the birds she had at her house. She stopped me to chat, asked me about my bird, and I gave the condensed version of the story. My bird is 15, she's nearly 16 years old. She came from an older couple who wanted a younger home for her. She's doing great and she's the love of my life, as well as all the other things I could possibly say about my bird. So this entitled Karen then asked me, so she's almost 16 years old? How long have you had her? I explained that I've had her for about 4.5 months now. Have you ever had a cockatoo before? I then explained that no, she's my first large bird, and I feel very lucky to have her in my life. This entitled Karen then says something to me that absolutely blows my mind. She says, you shouldn't have her. You don't have the experience with large birds, and you're too young to have one. You don't even look like you have your own life together. And then after she said that, she started to reach for my bird. She was actually going to take my bird away, and I could not believe what was happening in front of me. Now, I would have loved to pretend like I had some kind of witty comeback. I thought of all the good responses in the last couple of hours since we've been back home, and I've had a minute to process exactly what happened. In reality though, I came back with the unbearably witty retort of saying, what? Because you know, I am a brilliant person under pressure. I stepped back, put my cart between us and said, nope, we're not doing this. And I turned around and I walked out. Hours later, I have gone back in my head and told her off 10 ways to Sunday. In the moment, I was so flabbergasted. Someone actually tried to take my bird away from me. Like she literally tried to grab my bird off of my hand. After that happened, I don't think we're going to have another field trip anytime soon. I think we'll just stick to the yard. This was a stupid experience, and I would have enjoyed it more if I had enough brain power to yell at her and embarrass her for even thinking of trying something like that. She deserved to be horrifically embarrassed. I'm so mad about the whole thing. I'm still shaken up about it, and I'm now going to dwell on it for probably the next lifetime. This story made me unbelievably angry. Did this entitled Karen really think that the original poster would somehow give over this bird to this lady and say, oh yes, of course, random stranger, you can have this bird that I love and care for? Like if I brought my pet to the pet store and someone approached me like that trying to take my animal, I think I would have lost my mind. Like there's no way that's happening. And I think in the moment, I don't blame the original poster for not having a witty comeback. You did the absolute right thing. You put the cart between you and this crazy Karen, and you said to her, no, we are not doing this. And that's all you really needed to do. It also makes me question how this lady got her other birds. Has she tried this before? I mean, clearly she feels comfortable enough trying to take other people's birds that she probably thought this was going to be the 4th one that she was going to grab. I think if anything, the best thing to do after this is maybe call up the store and give a description of this woman and explain exactly what she tried to do in the store. They might even have CCTV footage that would expose exactly what she did, because that's unacceptable. Like that is seriously sketchy behavior, and it's so crazy that someone would do that. So good for you for protecting your bird from this crazy Karen, because I can't imagine what would have happened if she actually got her hands on your bird and tried to run away. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. An entitled Karen comes out of nowhere, tries to bully me during the middle of me directing a show, and starts demanding I do certain things for my technician job. And I've honestly never been more annoyed in my life by someone's stupid behavior. Here's what happened. So I work at a lot of very high-end corporate events as a freelance technician. As my job dictates, I coordinate with the showrunner to get our run of a show together so we can all be on the same page. Now for this show, the showrunner was very frazzled, but also very nice, which is pretty common. On show day, there's a lot of stress on them, so a big part of my job is to help calm their nerves and let them know that we've got this. So the show starts and I'm directing it, operating the video switch between inputs from a PowerPoint laptop, a Zoom conference laptop, and 2 cameras. As you can imagine, it's a lot of stuff to stay on top of. As the show's going along, suddenly a woman comes over to the tech table and starts talking to me during the show, which is a big no-no. She then starts making demands on my switching method. She looks at me and says, "I want to see the people on the Zoom call only." And when I said this, I politely acknowledge her request, and she goes back to her seat. The thing is, the client paid us to set up a robotic cam to face the audience specifically so they could be seen by the remote presenters on Zoom. And the showrunner themselves had specifically asked me to switch to the audience during the question and answer part of the sessions. So I had been switching to audience members asking questions to the Zoom presenters, which apparently this woman did not like. So the next session we have a Zoom panel call going, and the host picks up the mic to interact with the call. So my instinct was to switch to them since he was on stage, and I assumed that her request was about audience members asking questions. Well, it wasn't. She once again comes running over to my desk and says to me, "Why is he on the screen? I told you I wanted them on the screen. Who's your boss? I told you this already." Now, when this entitled Karen was screaming at me, I'm honestly just not sure who this was. And at this point, I'm close to telling her that I am my own boss, and she can run the show the rest of the way if she wants to. But thankfully for her, it was close to lunch break. To their credit though, both of the on-site AV managers and the showrunner apologized to me. They also told me that this entitled Karen was generally a giant pain in the neck who suddenly decided that she wanted to direct the show that she had not helped organize, but just wanted to throw her weight around. Thankfully, the rest of the show went great, and I was left alone by this entitled Karen. And to top it all off, we all had a good laugh about her as we wrapped up the show. It is really good that your colleagues had your back. I personally can't stand it when people like this, who have no authority or who have no idea of what they're talking about, try to throw their weight around as if they have any clue of what's going on. Like, why on earth would she run up to this desk when these people are trying to do their job? Like, they already have enough to deal with, and they already have enough problems on their plate that they're trying to make sure doesn't become bigger problems. Like, there's literally nothing worse than somebody who doesn't know what they're doing trying to bark orders at you as if they do know what they're doing. And you can bet if this person followed exactly what this entitled Karen was trying to get them to do, it probably would have fallen apart, and she would have been the last person to stand up and try and fix the problem. So good for you for standing up for yourself and standing your ground. She didn't know what she was talking about, and that show seriously would have suffered if you listened to anything that she wanted to say. My family doesn't approve of my boyfriend no matter what I do, and at this point, I'm seriously at a loss of how to move forward. So I've been dating my boyfriend for 5 months now. Everything has been great. He treats me like a queen, makes me feel safe and loved, communicates nicely, takes me on trips, and then some. I've met his parents, and they are both great. We talk about everything, and they do not want to interfere with our relationship. They just support us. My boyfriend has had a very hard life growing up. He was working when he was 5 years old and still works a lot. He is financially stable and has his own farm, as well as his own house and cars. He is well educated and knows many things. My family, on the other hand, is a complete opposite. My mom has always been a victim who did everything to support me and my brother, even though that's not entirely true. Because in reality, she was always just helping my brother. My father doesn't care about anything. He has a job, but gives some money to my brother, who lives separately with his fiance, and keeps the rest for himself. I was always the one who paid all the bills, bought the food and clothes for everyone, and needed to provide for everything. When I was growing up, I was more hungry than full. Nobody cared. Now, my current boyfriend came over to bring me some sawdust, as I have some chickens, and my parents wanted to meet him. He was very positive and very respectful, never said anything bad to them, and he was a bit dirty since he was working all day long. But to them, that's the end of the world. He came over when we had a religious celebration last weekend and dressed nicely and was very clean. But my mom made jokes about how he needs to cook for her and bring her food. Now, last Friday, he came over again, bringing me the sawdust and wearing his work clothes. My mother and grandmother actually attacked me the next morning for that, but I just told them that I don't care. My mom asked him to take me, her, and my brother's fiance to see her parents, who live in the countryside and have a farm as well. He accepted, of course, and she was extremely disrespectful and rude towards him, and I told her to shut it and mind her own business. When my grandpa and grandma saw my boyfriend, they made jokes about how I'm so much better looking than him, that we won't be equals when we get married, as well as many other hurtful things. This morning, my grandma, who lives with us, started hysterically crying, calling him names and telling me I should be ashamed of myself for dating him, since he doesn't know how to dress. My father said he was going to disown me if I continue this relationship, and my mother was yelling at him, calling him the worst possible names, all because he doesn't dress how she likes and doesn't talk the way that we do. I'm now at such a loss, and I seriously don't know what to do. Your family is just straight up toxic. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. They are just mean, nasty people, and they're just gonna be really overdramatic pretty much regardless of who you bring over. And I think that's something that you just need to understand first and foremost. They really will not like anyone you bring over, and they probably don't want him to step into the picture, because if you leave the family, that means the rest of them are gonna have to step up and actually work for once. Because you said it yourself, you've been working incredibly hard ever since you were a kid, and you've always been forced to provide for your family. Clothes, food, everything, it sounds like. And that's not fair for you in the slightest. Your parents have failed in that regard. So if I was in your shoes and I had a partner that was as good as this guy that you're describing, then for starters, I would stop bringing him over to your house and also think of ways that I could move out. There's no way I'm gonna live in that environment. For context, the original poster is 22 years old and their boyfriend is 26. And while the prospect of moving out is probably a little scary, based on how much you work and how determined you are to get things done and have some semblance of independence, I seriously don't think you're gonna have any problem finding something that can help you get out of there, because it sounds like your parents are taking advantage of you and they probably just see you as free labor at the end of the day. So hopefully this all works out for you, because regardless of what your toxic family says, you have a good relationship, and I really would not let them try to dissuade you from pursuing something that makes you happy. My girlfriend brought a guy home from a bar alone and later told me that he tried to make a move on her after she made him some food and had some drinks talking on her couch. And now that I've learned about all this information, I am so angry and I seriously don't know what to do. So this story involves me and my girlfriend. We have been together for 2 years and things have been very good and intimate until now. My girlfriend has talked a couple of times to this guy at the local bar. They have had very drunk, deep talks about feelings, and he seems like a sad guy. My girlfriend loves these kinds of talks, and I don't talk much about my feelings. She told me he is so understanding and likes talking about feelings. I have been introduced to this guy by my girlfriend, and I have seen the way that he looks at her, because this guy is looking at my girlfriend with lust. So I told her that this guy obviously wants something a little bit more than to talk about feelings, but she dismissed me and said that she really didn't think so. He apparently knows that she has a boyfriend, and that is more than enough reassurance for her to know that this guy's not gonna do anything. Fast forward to 1 week later and I'm at work. She is out with friends at that bar. My girlfriend invites everyone over to her place to continue the party, but everyone dismisses it except for this one guy again. She says that she didn't want to leave him hanging, so the two of them went back to her place. She makes him food, gets him something to drink, and they continue talking. After a while, he starts hitting on her and stroking on her back and on her legs. She tells him that she is not interested, but he doesn't seem to care. And still, even after that approach, she still lets him sleep on the couch. She told me it got very uncomfortable very quickly and that she didn't want to throw him out or make a big deal about it. The next morning, he leaves early without saying anything, and she meets up with me to tell me. I am mad because she invited the guy I specifically told her wants a little bit more than to talk about feelings, and she did this in the middle of the night alone at her place. I'm also mad that someone acted creepy and inappropriate towards my girlfriend, and I've got to be honest, it's incredibly hard to balance, but she doesn't understand why I'm mad, asking me things like if I'm jealous or stuff like that, and then I get angry and can't even think straight, so I don't know if it's a big deal or not. I don't want to talk to my friends or family about it before I get some insight from strangers online. What should I do? Your girlfriend is entirely and completely in the wrong. She invited a guy over to her place, made him food, and then had some drinks. And by the way, this is the same guy you warned her about. Like, she literally knew what she was getting into, and she played the nice route and let him into her life. She either has questionable judgment, or she's a complete idiot. Like, if my partner went and hung out with someone who I've said I think they have a crush on you, and they did that alone, drunk in their apartment, I would personally be having a very serious talk about our relationship. That is just incredibly inappropriate. And I'm also a big believer that when someone shows you who they are, you should believe them. And right now, your girlfriend is showing you that she just does not care about your relationship, and she would rather play nice with some guy who clearly wants something a little bit more than food, drinks, and to talk about his feelings. I mean, this is also a good example of how being rude and just saying no, you can't come into my house could have saved this lady a lot of trouble. So I personally would take this seriously and not let this slide, because in my eyes, this is a deal breaker, and some serious changes need to be made. Otherwise, this is just not going to end well. My younger brother is dating a toxic girlfriend, and after telling him so many times that she is being awful to him, he simply won't get the picture, and at this point, I don't know what to do. So my younger brother and I are quite close. We have two older brothers who don't really speak to us or have anything to do with us, but they talk to each other all the time. So we naturally became close with each other growing up. So he started dating a girl that he met on Hinge almost a year ago. At first, she seemed, from what he told us, as a normal and okay person. She lives an hour away from us, so it is a long distance relationship. He drives to see her every 2 weeks, and the first 2 months he didn't want to tell us about her in case it didn't work out, which was fair. So then, after they were together for a few months, we started hearing more and more about her slowly, and she seemed decent from the little that he has told us. We still don't really know what she looks like, as he never showed any kind of pictures of her. Only a glimpse of a small one on his phone lock screen, and she has never come over, and we still never met her. But as time went on, we noticed he talks to her a little too much. Their text messages are a mile long and are constant throughout the day, every day. We can't have a conversation with him because he is on his phone just texting, even if you're actively talking to him. She also wants to call and talk on the phone for at least 2 hours every night. If he does not do this or has no time or something like that, then she will get mad and start an argument, basically saying he doesn't care about her and cares about his family and friends and school way more than her. Even on my birthday a couple of months ago, she still demanded that he should talk to her and text her, and interrupted my birthday all day, as well as during the dinner outing at a restaurant. She starts a fight with him over something very trivial and juvenile almost every day, and if not then, every week. A few months back, she went through his followers on Instagram and made him unfollow a girl she doesn't know at all for seemingly no other reason besides the fact that this girl is super pretty. This woman is a mutual acquaintance of my brother and I that we worked with, and who is in a committed relationship for a few years now with her own boyfriend, who my brother doesn't even talk to at all, but still had her as a follower because of how nice she was. But this girl he's dating still made him unfollow her. A few weeks ago, I was at the store and trying to call our mom, who wasn't answering the phone. I called my brother asking what she's doing and have her text me back. Well, unbeknownst to me, my brother was on the phone with his girlfriend at the time. He asked her to hang on while he answered me real quick and call her right back, but she did not like that and was angry that he took my call and apparently hung up on her. Now, the best part is something that recently happened that I'm surprised wasn't the final straw with my brother. As I said before, we're quite close, so we have some pictures together, mostly silly Snapchat filter ones. Apparently, one popped up on his phone memories one day of us that she saw when he was with her. It was us sitting on his bed in his room, with both of us with our heads together, smiling with a mud mask filter. She got super upset. She said that she thinks it's just weird how close we are, saying that it's super weird that I was in his room and on his bed, basically insinuating it's weird because she thinks something scandalous was going on. Yeah, with my brother, are you kidding? She was seriously making a big deal out of an innocent sibling picture. Now, once again, I've never met this girl yet. She's never met me. We have never spoken to each other in any way, and she has already said months back that she is accusing my brother of caring about me, specifically his sister, more than her. Apparently, I can't even have a close relationship with my brother or even talk to him. I asked my brother if he thought it would be an issue with her if I was a guy instead. Do you think she would make it an issue if I was ugly? I personally don't think so. From things she has done so far, I think that she is quite insecure and incredibly immature. Even though I'm his sister, for God's sakes, she's worried about me stealing him away from her, as well as trying to make him weird weirded out, thinking our close relationship is something that it definitely would never be. My brother, of course, did not like what she was saying about me, but is still with her because they have good moments sometimes. It is sort of hurtful for me because he is apparently okay with her talking garbage about his own family. She also said, after my brother asked her why she's still friends with a problematic girl, that he can't tell her who to be friends with. But for one, he didn't say that, and two, she can still tell him who to follow and who not to follow. He said he simply didn't like her friend because of the bad things that she told him about her, and simply said that he didn't like her. But since she was mad about my brother not liking her friend, who she has constantly talked garbage about, she then had to immaturely retaliate by attacking one of his friends, whom she doesn't know in the slightest. So now she is not only causing issues with his family, but now one of his best friends. When he goes to see her, it's purely a physical relationship, if you know what I mean. And I just pray that he doesn't get her pregnant. My parents and I are just hoping that they break up soon. I've told him I'm not sure why he just doesn't break up with her, as he is super stressed out all of the time because of her. He claims he's not just with her for quality time, if you know what I mean. He will just not end things with her, and I'm not sure what to do. We've all tried giving him advice, and I hate seeing him in a toxic and awful situation as well as a relationship. One of our older brothers is married and is on the verge of divorce with a woman who is almost just like this girl. So it seems like he would somehow learn from that, but this just doesn't seem like the case. I truthfully don't even want to meet her at this point, as she's already trying to start something with me by forcing my brother to pick her over me and everyone else in his life. She apparently is not close with her family and her own brother, so she doesn't get it or understand where he's coming from when he just says that he loves his family. But that also doesn't mean that just because she's not close with any of them, that I can't be close with my own brother. I'm not sure what to tell him anymore. He seems to not know that none of this is normal in a relationship. Anytime we get on the topic of her, he says he doesn't want to talk about it and he's stressed out enough. I'm taking him out for a belated 21st birthday drink soon, and I know he'll be texting her the entire time, and she will get mad because he's spending time with me. What should I do? This is really an unfortunate situation. Your brother is in a toxic relationship, and this lady is seriously trying to drive him away from his family and friends. Like, this is some narcissistic behavior in my opinion. She is trying to isolate him and basically control every aspect of his life. And I'm on your side. I wouldn't want to meet this lady at all either. She sounds awful, she sounds controlling, and she seriously is just dragging him into a horrible place. And I, for one, would not want that in my life. Nor would I want this in my siblings' life. This seriously sounds awful. So I think having one last good conversation with him and laying out everything that she is actively doing to him might somehow have some kind of effect in helping him see the truth. She is toxic and she is only going to cause him harm. And while you can't control your brother's behavior, hopefully you're able to get through to him. Because obviously you love your brother and you don't want to see him get dragged down by this toxic girlfriend. An entitled Karen repeatedly bothers me and tries to force me to take pictures of her kid after I was hired to photograph another family. And after having a back and forth over and over again, I eventually lost it on this Karen and put her right in her place. Here's what happened. So I first want to start off by saying I'm a photographer. I pretty much work in all areas of photography in my area, meaning I cover weddings, babies, children, family photos, couple photos, christenings, you name it, and I probably have done it. In my area, I'm the only photographer who gets hired to shoot christening and baptism ceremonies, so I am pretty popular. Anyways, one summer, I'm turning up to my job at a local church, and I was hired by a lovely family. I'm working away, getting all my shots, when halfway through the service, a woman dressed in the brightest red outfit swanned right in, making noise with her family as they try and find their group to sit with them. One thing to mention is that in the UK, churches like to squeeze in as many christenings in one day, meaning they do a mass service and invite 4 to 6 families in one go and just call up each respective family to the water to baptize when the time was ready. So the vicar at this particular church calls all family to the water at the same time. So you can imagine how full and hectic that can be. So I'm trying to squeeze through the crowd, just watching by the basin, asking if I could please stand in front of them, as I had been hired to photograph one of the family's child's baptism. People were lovely and absolutely moved out of the way, a lot more than I needed, just so they could accommodate me and I could do my job. Now, do you remember the woman I mentioned in red who waltzed in halfway through the service as she was late? Well, as I'm stood amongst the people at the basin, watching the respective family member being christened, I felt a hit on my arm, quite literally a really hard backhand on my arm, and it It was the same arm that I had an expensive camera in. I just about stopped my camera from flying out of my hand, put it down from my face to see this weird entitled Karen staring at me. She looks at me and barks, "Make sure to photograph that kid." She then points to whoever she came for today, not the family I was hired by. She didn't say please. She didn't ask me who I was working for. She just ordered me to photograph her kid. I smiled and quietly whispered back that I was hired by another family. But when I said that, she didn't like that and just scowled at me. She said to me, "You work for the church. Photograph that child that I'm pointing to. You've not photographed him a single time." Again, I was trying to whisper as quietly as possible as I said to her, "Ma'am, I don't work for the church. I'm a professional photographer hired by that family over there." I point to the family, and the entitled Karen in red looks irritated and can't believe I've just denied her photos, despite her paying nothing for said photos. She says to me, "Of course you work for the church. Now take photos of them now." At this point, I'm getting more and more irritated as she is actively stopping me from working, so I try to just ignore her. And right about then, I get another whack on my arm. This time, she pushed the wrong button for me. I said to her, "Excuse me, don't hit me again. And please stop distracting me from doing my job that I've been hired to do." This entitled Karen then got up in my face and said, "What did you just say to me? That's it. I'm reporting you to the church and you're gonna lose your job." Now, I'm in just utter disbelief at this point, because not only is she talking loudly over the priest and swearing, but she is not understanding me when I say I do not work for the church. I am an independent professional hired by another family that I literally just pointed out. Now, instead of losing it, I just smile real big at her and I say to her, "No problem. I'd rather you wait to report me till after the service is done than keep punching and pulling on my arm, desperate for attention. So if you don't mind, I'll be doing the work I've been hired to do by that family over there." And I once again point out to the family. I gather that my client at this point has been watching this entitled Karen bother me the entire time and is really smiling and laughing back that I'm shutting her down and she isn't getting anything from me. This entitled Karen tries one more time after she realizes that maybe this girl isn't fazed by my stupid veiled threats and maybe she really is an independent photographer. She pulls at my arm again and I slowly turn to meet her with gritted teeth and I say yes. The entitled Karen then says, "If I pay you 20 quid, will you take some photos of my family?" I think to myself, 20 quid? This entitled Karen thinks a professional photographer for a christening day costs only 20 quid for me to bust my butt and just have some kind of special service? I simply look at her for a final time and I say to her, "Ma'am, if you think I charge 20 quid for a special milestone, a once in a lifetime event that you can only do once, like a wedding, well, you must be dreaming. I'm a professional photographer. I'm not someone who just does this on the side for a little extra cash or for exposure. I do this for a living. I'm the only christening photographer in our area, hence why all the priests all know me by name. They know me very well, and this is why I get booked for all these ceremonies extremely fast, as I can only do one christening or baptism that day. I wasn't hired by nor do I work for the church, which is why I don't work the entire church that day and photograph every single child or family there. I'm always hired by one family, so I get start to finish solely for them. If you want to hire me for a christening or baptism, I charge about £85 and offer a lot for your money. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I'm working." And at that point, I turned and I went to walk away from her while her mouth was on the floor, because how dare a working peasant like me speak to her like that? My client came and found me after the service when I was about to get their family group photo shots. And before I could apologize for that stupid Karen bothering me the entire time, my client said to me, "Wow, you can hold your own. I was ready for something a lot worse than what you did, but you straight up told her you owe me £85. I mean, she is still staring at the floor. She doesn't know what to do." All in all, it was worth it to see my client feeling that I had just fought for her and her child's honor. Plus, other families were all smiling at me as well for how I handled the Karen. Even the priest came and found me afterwards and gave me a well done for how I handled her. So hopefully next time, this Karen will learn that she will never get in the way of a photographer ever again. Good for the original poster. I can't stand people like this who think they can buy you for cheap for something that you know you're an expert at. Like 20 quid as a starting rate would be absolutely ridiculous, and £85 sounds really close to what you should be starting at overall. Plus, the original poster is in high demand. This entitled Karen really thought she could walk up, smack this lady on the arm multiple times, and then be like, "Oh, please take pictures of my child." Like, no, lady, get lost. Take a hike and go find somebody else. Which, by the way, there is nobody else. So honestly, kudos to the original poster. They handled this like a pro, and they put that entitled Karen in her place. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My coworker doesn't know that my boyfriend is also my coworker, and as a result, she is always and constantly complaining about him, and I seriously don't know what to do. So I've worked in this gas station chicken place for 4 months, and Sarah started a week after me. Sarah is not her real name. My boyfriend of 5 years started around a month ago. My boss is aware that we're together, but we don't act like we're dating at work, so I don't think most people know. Sarah acts completely different around my boss, my supervisor, and us. I don't know if she likes me, but she constantly talks bad at me when I don't talk to her. She isn't as aggressive with me as others, but she will try to point out things that she thinks I'm doing wrong. She'll make passive-aggressive comments, but will also suck it up to me for whatever reason. She is very rude to literally all of our coworkers that aren't supervisors. She snaps at them, tells them what to do, insults them, and tries to embarrass us in front of customers. We work without supervisors 2 days a week, and she is the rudest on these days and genuinely does nothing. Today we have to clean this batter table and fryer every 6 cooks. All our food was full, she went over 1 cook already, and then left to chat with some guy that she knew. I told my boyfriend we had to start cleaning it, and I went to grab something, and she came back a bit later and told him to stop and asked him what he thought he was doing. He then said that we were supposed to clean it, and she said that she was going to cook something and that he needed her permission before cleaning it. He told her I had, and she apparently just stared at him. When I came back, she rushed to explain to me, but she didn't really say anything. We finished washing it, and she didn't even make what she said she was going to make, and apparently went and told my boss. She actually told him that she should be in charge while the main supervisor isn't there, and pretty much just said that my boyfriend was wrecking stuff. I don't know what the issue was, honestly. She was complaining about my boyfriend throughout the day and would try to scold him for things he wasn't involved in. A few hours later, the boss wanted to talk to me and asked if there was an issue with leadership and that she had complained about it and told him that she should be in charge. I explained what happened and that we had felt uncomfortable for a while around her, as did some of my other coworkers. He pretty much complained about her and said that he would talk to the supervisor about it. I'm worried because I feel like she is manipulative and I'm not sure how they actually feel about her. I feel uncomfortable working with her, and I'm not a combative person, and I don't know how to make her leave us alone. I don't think she knows that we're together and acts like he isn't allowed to do things that I do every day. What should I do? I think honestly you need to talk to your boss. They really need to know that she is telling you that you have to run everything by her, and in effect she is basically preventing you from doing your job. You could try to talk to her, but honestly you would be so much better off just talking to your boss and working it out that way. Like, let's face it, this coworker is not your supervisor or your superior in any way, yet she is still trying to order you and everybody else around. So it sounds like there's something wrong with management. They need to step up and get her back in line. And honestly, I think it's probably a good thing that you're keeping your relationship private with your coworkers. There's no reason for them to know, and I don't think telling her about your relationship with your boyfriend would solve any of your problems, because you know what? She might just turn on you and start treating you like garbage, just like the way she's treating your boyfriend. And while it is completely unacceptable for the way she's treating your boyfriend, I think, in my opinion, telling her that you guys are in a relationship is only going to compound this problem and make things just a bit worse. So hopefully management and your boss can step in and get this straightened out, because she is seriously being obnoxious and incredibly toxic, and you do not need that kind of energy in your life. My girlfriend gets upset when I talk to or spend time with my family or friends, and it's become incredibly obnoxious, and I seriously don't know what to do. So my girlfriend, despite being almost 20 years older than me, is very insecure and very sensitive when it comes to feeling like she's left out. She moved into my apartment a while ago, and since then, she lost her car and her house. So we share my car and live in my 1-bedroom apartment. I've lost a lot of my sense of independence and freedom from sharing my car and my space, and it was only a few months into the relationship that she moved in. She essentially gets to take my car to work every day while I have to coordinate rides to and from work. Needless to say, it's a stressful situation for me. I haven't been able to make plans with friends due to not having access to my own car, so I try to maintain my relationships and my friendships over the phone, whether it be texting or FaceTime. The problem is, there is an air of distrust and annoyance when my girlfriend sees me on my phone, regardless of what I might be doing. I could be checking the weather or the time, and there is still a passive-aggressive response to this. I have never broken her trust, but she She says she had bad past relationships. It is even to the point that even texting my mom back may trigger my girlfriend to be upset and to go to bed without talking to me for the rest of the night. She feels that recalling memories with friends or reminding my old college buddy about a fun time that we had back in college is synonymous with being unhappy and unfulfilled in the relationship. She gets upset if my friends know things before she does, even if I'm not talking about anything important. It could be something as minor as me watching a new TV show or me just looking at a funny meme. If she isn't the first to know, it becomes a fight. I feel like I'm losing my life and myself. I've lost my car, my space, and now it feels like my friends are being pushed aside simply to appease my girlfriend. I just don't know how much longer I can go on like this, and I feel like I'm putting what I want on the back burner. It worries me because I'm not yet 30 years old, and I feel like I need this time to solidify or maintain my friendships and work on myself. My girlfriend already has a grown son and has had a family. She has friends, she's already experienced her 30s, and I don't want to be held back or miss out and make a mistake. I don't want to end up in a place where I have no friends, no connections other than my significant other. I don't want to set myself up for isolation and regret it later in life. I simply don't want to miss out on my 30s. What should I do? Let me get this straight. You're dating someone almost 20 years older than you. For context, the guy in this story is 28 and his girlfriend is 48 years old. Why on earth are you dating someone 20 years older than you? And also, why are you putting up with someone treating you in this way? She is literally taking your belongings and taking your life away from you. Any kind of independence or any kind of friendship that you want to have with other people is getting stripped away by your girlfriend. And she doesn't sound like a good girlfriend to begin with. She sounds incredibly controlling, and it sounds like she's trying to isolate you from everybody else. And that's not fair for you in the slightest. And if I was in your shoes, I would be putting my foot down and saying enough is enough. It is not fair for you to have to coordinate rides when your car has basically been taken away from you by your girlfriend. It's also not fair that you can't have friends or even talk to your mom outside of your girlfriend. Just because she has this weird fear of missing out doesn't mean that you should be held back by her weird anxiety. You're clearly not cheating, and any kind of anxiety she has towards that is her problem, not yours. So honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would not be putting up with this, because you do have it right. Your 30s are coming up and you want to be able to enjoy them. And with the current trajectory that you're going on, I seriously see your girlfriend holding you back from having any kind of positive experience. My ex-girlfriend broke up with me just to see if I would fight for her, and I'm so hurt over this, I seriously don't know what to do. So as the title suggests, my ex broke up with me. I knew it was coming because she would say that she needs time to think about stuff, and after 5 days of no contact at all, she said she wants to meet me, but not in my house, but rather somewhere else private. I took her a few things that she left me and I drove to her. She said she really wasn't happy. I had a tough time, I was moving places at the moment, and had a lot of bad stuff going on in my work. I was feeling pretty bad, and yeah, I might have been quite absent. I accepted it, I told her I don't really want to talk much about it, and I just drove off. She kept messaging me though, especially with asking me how my day was going and stuff like that. I decided to explain to her a little bit, as it felt so weird that we just broke up without even talking that much. I told her how I felt, and I said I was sorry, I just drove off like I didn't care. I just was simply accepting her decision. And that's when she said something to me that I really didn't expect. She told me she just wanted me to talk with her and try fighting for her. She says that she wants to try, but she lost her trust and would need me to try really hard for her to gain the trust back. But you know what? I really wasn't interested. I was in a really tough position in my life, and I wasn't feeling like doing so. In that period of talking time, I've noticed that she added her ex on Facebook, followed him on Instagram and such, and I immediately backed up. This was the moment I've realized that I lost the trust, and I told her that I do not really want to talk to her anymore. I basically just wanted to go no contact. And when I said that, she went absolutely crazy. She wanted to call me and all this other stuff, but I just went to sleep. I replied to her the next day, but she wasn't interested in talking anymore. So I just said goodbye. But when I review everything that happened, why do I feel so bad? Did I dodge something awful? I think I did the breakup thing to see if my partner cares when I was 16 years old. And back then, I noticed that this is a bad thing to do to someone. I'm obviously in a lot of pain, and yet I still got some feeling to message her, but I'm so unsure about the entire situation, I seriously don't know what to do. I would not waste my time with this ex for another second. She is just trying to play games. She literally broke up with you just so you could try and fight for her. That is not a good relationship. This is very childish, and you don't need that. Like, Like, you seriously dodged a major nightmare. She sounds incredibly insecure, and it's just not something that spells out to be a good relationship in my opinion. And you can bet that she will probably try this again. So in my opinion, your first instinct of saying, you know what, I want out, I'm not doing this, that is the feeling that I would hold on to, because she does not sound stable in the slightest, and she would just try to do this over and over again if you did decide to get back with her. Today, I messed up by learning that running down hills is incredibly bad, and I'm really glad I didn't break a bone. Here's what happened. So as the title suggests, I messed up on a hike with some friends. It was a really steep climb in California, and I was wearing some old Nikes with no grips on the sole. On the way down, I was slipping a bunch, so I decided to try walking on the balls of my feet and sort of hopped along so I didn't slip. My hopping turned into play running, and soon I unexpectedly started to pick up a ton of speed fast. Since the hill was so steep, I was soon full-on sprinting against my own will, Olympic level fast. My body was essentially perpendicular to the hill while I Usain Bolted down the slope full of uneven terrain. My feet were moving level 14 on the treadmill fast just to stop me from falling, and there was no way to slow myself down. It was then that I knew I had two possibilities that were seconds away from occurring. The first possibility was that my ankle would be broken by stepping into one of the many cracks on the ground and risk having to have my friends carry me the rest of the way down. The second option is to just fall and pray for the best. I decided to take control of my own destiny and make a calculated dive. This decision must have happened on the time scale of milliseconds. At once, I stopped moving my feet and fell forward into a pile of bushes and foliage. My body kept sliding down for several seconds due to the sheer momentum as branches and plants cut open my hands, as well as my arms, leg, and Patagonia jacket. At this point, my friends were still like 50 yards up the hill from me, walking at a careful pace as normal people do when going downhill. Two hikers over to my right called out to ask if I was okay, and I did one of those, yes, I'm fine, but please just leave me here, it's fine. And thankfully, they just kept walking away. I flipped over onto my back, and soon my friends and boyfriend came to see if I was okay. Apparently, it was quite the sight for them. I apparently looked like a drunk baseball player sliding into home base as my legs went up in the air, sliding down on my stomach. It was not a very fun experience. I am more or less fine. I've got some bruised fingers and toes and some scrapes pretty much everywhere, but luckily I don't have any broken bones, and you know what? I'll take that. Honestly, the most disturbing thing of all is that I've never heard any guidance against running downhill. I googled it afterwards just to see how big of an idiot I really was and saw nothing online. So while I definitely messed up, I sincerely hope that this post is also an opportunity that prevents at least one other person from deciding to run down a steep hill, because trust me, it is simply not worth it. I've got to be honest, that seriously is my nightmare. Like, that just sounds unbelievably scary, running down a hill and you have no control over your speed. So it really does come down to those two options. You either break a bone or you make a dive for it. And I think the original poster had the right idea. Make a dive and see what happens, because otherwise you're just gonna get more hurt. So good for them for not breaking any bones. I think they seriously got off lucky, and hopefully the next time they go hiking, they actually bring along some shoes that have some good traction. An entitled Karen lets her kids run loose in my house while we're trying to negotiate a deal of her cleaning my house. And as a result, her kids destroy my house and completely wreck everything that we've neatly organized. And I never expected this, and I am completely blown away. Here's what happened. So honestly, I just have to get this out there. This is the most absurd entitled parent situation I've personally ever encountered. So buckle in. My husband and I looked to hire a local husband and wife small business to clean and do maintenance projects on our house before our baby comes in a few weeks. They came by tonight to take a look at the projects, and surprise, they brought their 3 elementary age children. This is no biggie, I thought at first. It's not ideal, but I like children, and I like the idea of our home being a welcoming place for them. For now, we'll just let it go. We opened the door and the children scattered. All 3 took off screaming in a different direction with their shoes on their feet. 1 ended up in my bedroom and 2 on different ends of the living room, where all 3 started pulling my daughter's carefully organized, orderly toys off the shelves at an extremely rapid pace. The mom said to us, "Well, they sure made themselves at home. They sure love your house." I tried to orient the parents quickly so they would leave as soon as possible, and the oldest child noticed our loft, which is our playroom and library, and is also carefully organized and decorated with pure love, with various handcrafted elements. And when they saw that, they all raced upstairs. We have 4 kids of our own, but managed to mostly keep things orderly. Each toy has a place, we have some small breakable pieces from mine and my husband's childhood, not to mention that all the books are shelved alphabetically in categories. All three children started shrieking at the sight of the room. I was trying to wrap up discussion with the mom, and it's right about then that I heard the stomping starting. It sounded like they were jumping off furniture. I paused for the mom to say something, but she didn't even bat an eyelash. Then came a crash that could only have been furniture falling over. The mom, again, didn't so much as comment. My husband, though, ran upstairs incredibly alarmed. The youngest one, who was maybe 4 years old, then raced downstairs, needing to go to the potty urgently. 3 of our 4 washrooms needed service, which is why we were hiring these people in the first place. So the only bathroom available was our master bathroom. And this is also where we have chicks in an incubator. As I showed the child where to go, she got distracted by the chicks and screamed to the older kids upstairs to come down and look at the chickens. So the older 2 came barreling down the stairs, yelling at the top of their lungs, running through my bedroom and bathroom, and the small one didn't quite make it to the toilet in the excitement. This all happened in the 15 minutes I thought we would quickly introduce the adult contractors to the projects and negotiating pay. This was bizarre and horrible, I thought, but we'll just have them do the job tomorrow and not work with them ever again. Eventually, as it was time to leave, 2 of the kids started to scream and have a temper tantrum, demanding that they wanted to stay longer. And this is all without putting a single toy away that they disassembled and threw around the place, mind you. The entitled mom looks at her kids and says, "It's okay, honey. We'll be back tomorrow so you can play some more." And when she said that, I was blown away. She was expecting to bring the children and leave them unsupervised in my home, or maybe she expected me to provide childcare while she performed tasks that were clearly unsafe for children in closed-off rooms for 7 hours. So in my mind, of course we were canceling. I'm almost too shocked to even be upset. I just checked upstairs, and I found a shelf of books partially toppled over. Every toy in the living room is in pieces on the floor. There is waste not in the toilet, if you know what I mean, and it happened so fast. And I'm honestly so blown away by some people's entitlement. That situation seriously sounds so unbelievably infuriating. I cannot imagine how angry I would be if I had spent all this time trying to get my house together and you're trying to hire these people to help out and their kids come in and destroy everything. Like, that would have literally driven me nuts. I can only imagine how frustrating that is. And it's like, how can the mom just not do anything about it? She's seriously gonna let her kids run around and destroy this house? Like, what is she thinking? She lost a sale right then and there doing just that. I'm surprised that the original poster didn't freak out on this person too. Like, if that was me, I would have lost my mind. I probably would have started screaming at those kids and told them to get lost. So for the sake of your house and your sanity, definitely never hire those people again. They're obnoxious and they're just gonna bring their stupid kids over. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. I feel incredibly insecure about my boyfriend's coworker, who is very pretty, and I'm worried that he finds her attractive, and I seriously don't know what to do. So about a year ago, my boyfriend started a new fast-paced, high-stress job. He had to train quickly because the person he was replacing was leaving in a week or 2. The coworker he was replacing had to train him for hours each day, so they also had lunch together each day. Apparently, because of the amount of work that they had to get through, they would work together remotely until pretty late after coming home. My boyfriend and I are very close. We've been together for 2 years, and we spend every weekend together and talk on the phone every day. I felt weird when he couldn't talk on the phone in the evening when he said he was working late with his coworker. But then again, I've never had a job like his where you have to work so late and get it done. Now, I was suspicious of him because I was cheated on in my last serious relationship, and it started as texting. I know it was an invasion of privacy, but I looked at their text messages. This is when I got really upset. My boyfriend is a friendly but mostly introverted guy. He keeps in touch with a few friends from college, but otherwise isn't really a social butterfly. A lot of times he doesn't even respond to his friends' text messages or mine until late in the evening. My boyfriend and his female coworker were texting for multiple nights in a row until late in the evening, well past 10 o'clock at night. Most of it was just friendly conversation, asking about her family and her goals, talking about their lives and other stuff. He asked her what she was reading, and she responded that she was rereading a very popular children's book series for probably the 4th time, to which he responded by basically calling her a scholar. This in and of itself wasn't that weird, but definitely seemed out of character for my boyfriend, as he is a serious reader and not usually as social or complimentary. They talked so late that they said goodnight to each other as well. I told him that these conversations seemed past the line of professionalism professionalism and were verging into flirty territory. I also told him I was suspicious because he spent all day at work with her, then spent the better part of the evening texting with her, which is nothing like how he interacts with his previous coworkers. And he didn't think to mention anything to me except that he was working and couldn't talk at the moment. I asked if she was beautiful and if he was attracted to her, and he responded by saying, well, she is attractive, but I'm not attracted to her. That really didn't make me feel better. He explained that he just wanted to form a good work relationship with her since he will need her help and ask her for advice once she leaves the office. He said that she had a boyfriend, which strikes me as odd because I wouldn't be texting late into the evening with another man because I wouldn't want my boyfriend to get the wrong idea. When I asked if he had told her that he has a girlfriend, he said no, but he said that she would have had to see my photo as his wallpaper. We had an extended fight until he admitted he crossed a line and promised it wouldn't happen again and that I didn't have any reason to worry. Meanwhile, I feel super insecure and even looked her up online. I know this was a very bad idea, but she is a very beautiful woman and she is successful. Flash forward a year and she is coming back to the office soon. We aren't sure if she'll be working with him or in another department. When he was short to me after a long day at work, I immediately started wondering if she had come back to the office. I know he texted her recently about coming back, but the conversation didn't go any further according to him. Now I'm writing down this story because I don't know how to stop obsessing about him possibly texting her or being attracted to her at work. I keep comparing myself to her and I'm feeling inadequate. I know on some level my boyfriend wouldn't have been texting her like that if he didn't feel some sort of attraction, but I also don't think he would ever cheat on me. He's just not that kind of guy. I have already clearly expressed my boundaries and told him I will not be fighting about this again, meaning that if it happens again, I'm done. He has reassured me countless times that I don't need to worry about this woman, and he only wants to be with me because he loves me. I know being suspicious of him constantly will push him away and is largely due to my own insecurities in the past. How can I gain some self-confidence and build more trust in him? What should I do? In my opinion, and maybe this is a polarizing opinion, I really feel like the original poster is incredibly insecure. Like in my opinion, I don't feel like any of the behavior that this guy exhibited shows any kind of indications of cheating or a romantic affair, like at all in the slightest. They were literally just friendly text messages between the two of them, and I seriously don't think your boyfriend was doing anything sketchy. I think the real problem here is the fact that you are unwilling to trust your partner and trust that he is literally just trying to do his job so he has a good contact moving forward with his position. That's all that looked like in my opinion. He wasn't flirting, he wasn't doing anything that would indicate anything like that in my opinion. And it seems like the original poster's argument is basically saying, well, he didn't tell me he was texting his female coworker. Well, I'm sure that your boyfriend is probably texting a lot of different people at work trying to get this new job down for him. At the time, he was probably in scramble mode where he's trying to catch up to this one coworker who's about to leave. Like he is being trained quickly and he's replacing someone who probably was there for a while. And based on what you described, there was no flirting going on. That's my opinion at least. If you have a different opinion or a different perspective, then leave a comment down below. We would love to hear what you have to say. So I think first and foremost, the original poster needs to work on themselves. You clearly just innately don't trust your boyfriend with anything, and you've even threatened to break up with him if he ever even talks to this woman again, despite the fact that there has never been anything between them except some semblance of professionalism and just friendly conversation. So hopefully things can work out between you and your boyfriend, because in my opinion, it really doesn't seem like he did anything wrong. My boyfriend got upset that I had dinner at home with his cousin, and this has caused a lot of friction and a lot of arguments, and I seriously don't know what to do. So my boyfriend of 3 years is very close to his cousin. He lives 5 minutes from us. My boyfriend always invites him over for dinner, and their family spends Christmas and holidays together. They even live together, so they're more like brothers than anything. So eventually, I became friends with him as well. Not really close friends, but we do get along when we meet up. Now, I'm not from their country, so a few months ago, I moved in with my boyfriend, and I don't have any friends here, and I only know his cousin and my boyfriend. One night, my boyfriend was away for work in another city, and his cousin asked me if I wanted to have dinner together with him. It is really common here. People just invite themselves over for dinner, so I told him yes, but I explained that I don't have any food at home. I barely cook, so he brought ingredients to make ratatouille. We cooked together. I told my boyfriend he came over, sent him pictures with the dish, and told him not to eat on his way home. He was working in another city, stating that we will save him some ratatouille for him, but eventually he decided to spend the night there. He didn't say anything about this dinner on the spot, but during an argument, he told me it's not normal that I'm having dinner with his cousin, and that he he would never have dinner with his cousin's girlfriend if he had one, and he couldn't understand why he came over to cook dinner. And I said to him, look, I don't have any friends here. I'm alone most of the time. I didn't have anything to eat either, so I said yes. Then after a few days, he told me he dreamt I was spending some quality time with his cousin. Mind you, my boyfriend was cheated on before and always has dreams that I'm cheating on him, and I have to reassure him that I won't. Then during other arguments, he would bring this topic up and say he's not jealous of him, he's just jealous that his cousin gets to spend time with me and not him. Sometimes my boyfriend invites him over for dinner when I would rather spend some time alone with him only, and he falls asleep most of the time, and I'll end up having to talk to his cousin because he is a guest, and it would be rude to just leave him hanging. Then another time he took me home after the Christmas dinner because my boyfriend asked him to, since he was going to work, so on that occasion it was okay that I spent time with him. But when he's not around, suddenly it's not okay? When I spend time with his cousin without him, which only happened 2 times mind you, I either praise my boyfriend or we talk about books or other mundane topics. I don't see anything wrong. He is literally just a friend, if I can even call him that. I don't know what to say or do. I don't like asking for permission to spend time with people, and I am very faithful and honest, and would never disrespect my boyfriend ever. I don't even know if I'm a bad girlfriend for getting upset instead of reassuring him that I will never cheat. It's just that I'm so laid back, and I would never accuse him of anything or question him, and I just don't like being scolded at for things that I don't do. This is my first relationship, so I'm not really good at comforting my boyfriend in this really weird situation. What should I do? Your boyfriend is being absolutely irrational. I mean, he's getting upset over literally nothing. This is his cousin we're talking about. There hasn't been any instance where he's tried to make a move on you, and it doesn't sound like he's done anything sketchy in general. If anything, he's just been a normal friend. I mean, if your boyfriend and this cousin really are close to being brothers, then it's honestly really surprising that he would act this way. He is just being super insecure, and it's almost over nothing. Like, you haven't done anything to this cousin, and it doesn't sound like you would ever do anything like that. So maybe just reassuring him and saying, hey, I moved in with you and you only. I love spending time with you, and you're the only person that I want in my life. Or something like that, because your boyfriend is being really weird right now. You're not cheating, you haven't done anything wrong, and honestly, the problem is definitely with him. It is not something that you did in the slightest. My girlfriend keeps switching between being loving and happy in our relationship to then feeling overwhelmed by everything. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So my girlfriend and I started dating like a month ago, so it hasn't been a lot of time. At the very start of it, she told me that she just came out of a relationship, and I told her that we can take things slow, but not even a week or a week and a half in, and she says that she wants to be exclusive. And ever since then, we have been just that. But she keeps doing this hot and cold dance, and it's really starting to confuse me. She stays over at my place nearly every night. She wants to see me every day at the university, and when she is with me at my place, she won't stop hugging and kissing me. But then there have been a couple of moments when she's been overwhelmed and said things that don't make sense. The first time that happened was around 3 weeks ago, and she told me that she doesn't really know what she feels for me, and that sometimes she feels nothing in general. I listened and I said that we can figure it out, and then that very night, she came back to my place and stayed the night. The second overwhelming moment happened last night. We were in the car after a dinner date, and she said things like, I just don't know how to be in a relationship. Like, she knows the rules of a relationship and everything like that, but she doesn't know how certain communication should happen. She also says that she just doesn't know what she's doing. This time when she said that, it really hurt me, because it's been more than a month, and we see each other every day, and I am developing strong feelings for her. The thing is, there are times when she tells me how much she likes me and wants me, and then there are other times where she won't even want to say it back. Another aspect is that she doesn't like us hanging out in her department, and the reason she's explained it is that she doesn't like the idea of her ex seeing us there, since it's his professional workspace as well, and she doesn't want to make him dread coming into his own workplace, and I understand that to an extent. At first, I didn't, and I had to have a conversation with her, but I soon find out that all the important people in her life and department do know that we're dating. So what should I do? Am I looking too much into this hot and cold thing, or is this indicative of a bigger problem? My only thinking is to ask myself, why would she come over every single day if this wasn't something that she was interested in? What should I do? It kind of sounds like your girlfriend has not moved on from a previous relationship. That's like the first thing that came to mind. Like, she might be feeling overwhelmed because, well, she just got out of a relationship. And I totally get that. It can be hard going from one relationship that you've been in for a really long time to then suddenly go into this new relationship relationship and be thinking to yourself, wait, what am I supposed to do? How do I do this? You were used to this one sense of love and affection, only to then suddenly being forced to get to know your partner. And that can be very jarring. And it sounds like she is currently going through it. And that might be why she's like on and off almost all the time. So hopefully you can have some kind of conversation with her and maybe see if you can even take it slower with the relationship. And it probably also doesn't help that her ex-boyfriend literally works in the same place that she does. Like, that's gotta be hard, and I can only imagine that only adds to the stress. So hopefully with some kind of conversation you can figure this out, because I do think you're right. She does come over every single day, so it really does seem like she wants to be with you all the time, and hopefully that can be enough to try and figure this out. My husband told me that he has feelings for one of our mutual friends, and I really feel heartbroken and betrayed over this, and I seriously don't know what to do. So my husband and I met our friend about a year ago, and I've got to be honest, my husband and my friend were instant friends, and in contrast, it took me and this friend a little while to warm up to each other. A few months ago, I started feeling like things were getting a little too close between them. They were texting more and more often, and when we would hang out, my husband would ignore me when I tried to talk to him, but would rather talk to her instead. And even several times, I was in the middle of saying something to him, and he would just walk away to talk to her instead. This turned into a big fight the last time it happened, because I was talking to him about plans for our kid's birthday party, and he literally ran away to talk to her because he spotted her across the room. I asked my husband repeatedly if he had feelings for her, and he said no. I repeatedly told him the way he treated me when she was around and the way he acts when she's around was making me feel uncomfortable. This built to another fight where my husband insisted that he didn't have feelings for her, and he felt like I was just being jealous and that he wasn't allowed to have friends. I felt guilty for making him feel like he wasn't allowed to have friends, and I have never wanted to try and control his friends group. I just wanted us to get back to normal. So to try and keep the peace, I dropped it. For 2 months, I made myself get over my feelings. I felt guilty for feeling upset when they would just joke around with each other. I would even leave the room when they would sing songs together, and this was all in karaoke to the song Accidentally in Love. They would sing this together with pretend microphones and leaning into each other, and I even ignored the fact that when she touched his arm, he didn't push it away. Now, I was just starting to feel like I was past it, like maybe it was just in my head and I was just being jealous. I felt terrible for having doubted my husband when he told me he didn't have any feelings for this friend. Then, at the start of this month, my husband was acting upset. I asked him what was going on, and he admitted that he does have feelings for this friend. He said that he has been having reoccurring dreams about her. They started out a few months ago, every now and again, but he is now dreaming about her almost every night. Now, my husband told me he felt guilty for having these dreams, and he felt guilty for having feelings for her. He kept apologizing, and when I asked him what exactly he felt for her, he said he didn't know. He knows he's attracted to her and that he wants to spend more time with her and to get to know her better. He compared it to a third-grade crush. He says that he has no interest or intentions to pursue her romantically, but he doesn't want to stop talking to her or being around her. Now, it's been 2 weeks since my husband told me all of this. We started setting aside time at the end of every day to spend time together to just talk about everything. He has answered any questions I asked him. He has started texting her less, and I thought we were doing okay, even if we were still figuring out what to do about it to try and make things work. Yesterday, he told me that the feelings he has are stronger than he thought they were. He hasn't texted her in a few days, but that's only because of some serious restraint on his part. He realized that he wanted to text her more and more, so he stopped texting, but this has only made him want to talk to her more. He says he can't control the way he feels for her, but he feels so guilty that he's hurting me. He says he doesn't love her because he doesn't believe you can love someone without getting to know them, but he wants to get to know her, even though he knows that it will only lead to him feeling more for her. He keeps telling me that no matter what he feels for her, it doesn't change that he loves me. He even said that he even feels like he loves me more now because he has been able to talk to me and be honest with me about how he feels. He told me that he has no conscious thoughts of pursuing her, but nearly every night he goes to sleep and she is there. And when he wakes up in the morning, he feels terrible for it. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think or how to feel. I feel betrayed and angry that he got close enough to her to feel anything for her at all. I'm angry that I saw this coming and I made myself get over it. I'm hurt that he lied to me repeatedly about not having feelings for her when he did. I'm hurt that I repeatedly told him that he was making me feel incredibly uncomfortable, and he basically told me to just get over it. But I was right. I feel guilty for being upset about how he feels for her because he can't control his emotions. I don't want to be be the reason that he has to lose a friend, but I truly don't want to be around her. I don't want to spend more time with her. I don't want him to talk to her, but he has every right to be friends with whoever he wants to be friends with. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I think the original poster has it partially right. Yes, you feel betrayed and angry because you know what? Your husband is setting you up to say, hey, I cheated on you. Like literally that's where this is leading. But I think you're wrong on one thing. He absolutely can control his emotions, and no, he does not have to be friends with this woman. If he really cared for you, he would have cut this off from the beginning. He would have said, hey, no, wait a second, I'm married. I'm not interested in you. Him saying over and over again that he's having dreams about this woman, and he's saying stuff like, I just can't get her out of my head, I'm having dreams about her. This guy is literally trying to ease you into the idea of him not only talking to her more, but also eventually cheating on you. Like, this is sketchy behavior across the board. This is not normal, and I would not take this sitting down. So hopefully something can be done about this, because honestly, it really does look like your husband's about to cheat on you, and you absolutely do not deserve that. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, make sure to subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.